Hi, folks. Bob Mannery here. You're listening to A2D Radio, real sports talk radio for the fans, by the fans, no agenda. These guys are the best in the business. Hashtag it. No notes.
It's Monday night, and the Sports Hounds are live on A2D Radio from the Real Talk Studios, Mount Ephraim, New Jersey. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Periscope, all social media covered. As always, we're brought to you by Gibson Mayer, LLC, certified accountants. Visit GibsonMayerLLC.com. We got a lot of basketball to talk in the first hour. St. Joe's head coach ahead of their Atlantic 10 Conference Tournament game on Thursday will join the program at 8:15. We'll talk college hoops, A10, March Madness. We're going to talk some March Madness to lead up to the interview, prime the pump, talk some bracketology, Selection Sunday. 6 days away, folks. I know I've gotten a bunch of texts from my friends about entering bracket pools and whatnot. I'm sure the staff here at A2D will do a bracket pool once again. We have the NBA. The Sixers now the 3 seed in the East. Can that last? The Flyers are in action right now, currently down 1-0 to the Ottawa Senators. Must-win playoff hockey mode for the Flyers, Brad. And the Eagles, NFL free agency, taking things by storm. So we'll talk Flyers and Eagles and NFL free agency on the YouTube portion of things. But till 9 o'clock, it's all basketball all the time. And, Brad, it's March Madness time. These conference tournaments are starting. We've had some heartbreaking bid stealers for some of these bubble teams. South Dakota State going down. Monmouth and Iona are going to play tonight. Lipscomb losing their conference tournament. Belmont going home. John Morant and the Murray State Racers. And, Brad, these smaller conference tournaments, they're really fun because a lot of these conferences, they're only going to have one bid leagues. They're not going to be able to get
some of them might
4,
actually
5,
some
8
of them
teams.
might be able to get 1 or 2 teams into the NIT, but I mean, as far as the NCAA, you're absolutely right. It's only one team.
Now we have the bubble. The bubble, Temple, with a big win on Saturday over UCF.
They're not on the bubble. They're in.
They're not anymore after that win. I totally agree with you, beating a very good UCF team in Fran Dunphy's final home game. See what Phil Martelli has to say about Temple and the Dump coming up at 8:15. You have St. John's. Boy, your St. John's Red Storm out of New York. They're on life support.
They're in big trouble. They have to beat. They have to beat DePaul. No question.
They
first
play
game.
at 9:30 tonight against DePaul in their first Big East tournament game.
And they have to win that game.
They have to win that.
And then
I think they're on thin ice.
I think
they win a couple games.
I think they have to win that game, and I think they have to win the Marquette game.
Probably right. Now, what they have in their favor is they've swept Marquette, which is not an easy thing to do. Marquette's got a good team, even though they're not.
But they seem to match
at the right
up.
Time.
They seem to match up well with Marquette.
Those games weren't even close.
Yeah, they seem to be too athletic for Marquette. The team St. John's has had trouble with this year is Providence. I mean, Providence is just too big and strong for them, and they don't rebound, and that falls right into their weakness.
And
St.
another
John's.
North Jersey team getting it done on Saturday with Villanova, the defending champions, getting them stuff out of off the bubble is Seton Hall.
Yeah, the Pirates have played great basketball.
They're awesome.
They really have. I mean, give them credit because they kind of came out of nowhere.
You look at Selection Sunday and how the selection committee. Because remember we talked to Phil Martelli this time last year, and he was irate that these smaller power conference schools were getting the shaft by the selection committee because the RPI is manipulated. Because in Oklahoma last year with Trae Young, a lot of people thought that they shouldn't have got in. Syracuse has been, of that ilk in the past, but I want some of these smaller conference schools to get in over the Ohio States, who stink, Florida, who stinks,
and they're not going to
Alabama,
they're not going to go anywhere anyway.
Correct.
So why not give some of these other teams a chance?
I would rather see a Belmont get in, a South Dakota State get in, a Lipscomb get in. Wofford's in there. They're ranked 20th in the country right now. They're playing their conference tournament right now against UNC Greensboro. They're down 30. They're down by 4. Second half just started, but
They have to win that game.
20th team in the country. Is Wofford going to get an at-large bid, or is the SoCon going to get one bid? Are they going to let Florida or Ohio State in instead?
I think they'll.
I'll be irate.
I think they'll let Florida or Ohio State.
I got to confirm with the boys on
I
agree
hate
to
to-
disagree, but I think I'm going to be joining them at 8:30 after the selection show on Sunday to dive into all things NCAA tournament. As I write bracketology, as you know, for the website all year. This is the greatest time of year, and that brings us to the Scanzano Sports poll question of the night. The poll question, Frank, is the poll question. Are we loaded on the poll question?
Yeah, I'm just putting in there right now. I'm just taking care of the tagging and all that, making sure that Phil
All right,
Martelli gets his love on Facebook as well.
We'll throw it out there. Is March Madness the best time of the sports year? I'm going to say yes. I think that there's nothing better than that first Thursday, Friday of the NCAA tournament where you have games at noon all the way until midnight on the West Coast swings, 2 days in a row. You can bet, you lose your money with the bookie on the early games.
It's a lot
you
of
can
fun.
get it back. You got 4 separate betting windows
And,
each day.
you get to see some of these small schools too.
Right.
And these kids are coming in and they're playing their hearts out.
You remember Bryce Drew back in the day from Valpo?
I mean, I don't know if you remember back in the day when Princeton used to play Georgetown.
Yes.
In Princeton, some of those battles that Pete Carrill used to have with that team. Boy, oh boy! I'll tell you what.
85 Villanova beating Patrick Ewing and Georgetown out
John
of nowhere.
Thompson. Yeah, John Thompson. I mean, that was just there's some real fun. Some real fun games. I mean, Harvard a few years ago.
Absolutely.
With
how about
when they had Jeremy Lin. Remember when they had Jeremy Lin and they made those upsets? I think they got to the.
I think they had the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I mean.
How about last year, Sister Jean, Loyola Chicago, gets to the Final Four.
Exactly. I mean,
last year's tournament was crazy.
Yeah,
she had
last year
Kansas
was
State in
totally
the Elite Eight as an
unpredictable.
8 seed. That's Frank's boys over there.
Yeah, it's my dad's
Wildcats.
school, Emaw.
They're looking good, Frank.
Yeah,
I like.
They
them.
got the number 1 seed in the Big 12. I know my dad's been excited with the
Yeah, they got the tiebreaker over Texas Tech.
tiebreaker over Texas Tech. They got to share the Big 12 regular season title. I'm very happy that, man. I'm just glad it's not the Jayhawks this year.
Let me ask
So
you guys-
glad.
Well,
Let me ask you guys a question.
Kansas stinks.
What about Zion Williamson? What is going on
That's
with him?
the
Is he
elephant
gonna-
in the college basketball room, Brad.
What is going on with him?
Uh,
Is he gonna play in the tournament?
First off, I think he'd be a fool to play.
I think he'll play.
I think he'll play in the NCAA.
He's a fool. Why would you play?
If he's
Why
healthy,
would you play?
If he's healthy, why not?
There's no way he's 100% healthy after that knee sprain.
Well, you
Only
figure
bad things can happen if he can play from an individual standpoint. Obviously, if he
That's
plays,
true.
I think Duke is far and away. If Duke has Zion Williamson at 100%
And
with,
R.J. Barrett.
with R.J. Barrett, who's
Yeah.
just an absolute animal, so if your Knicks get the first or second pick in the draft,
Olivi.
you're set. You're set.
Hope springs eternal with the Knicks. It looks like they're gonna have the worst team of the league. So
That's great.
yeah, they just
Yeah.
about have that. I mean, they're now 3 games. They're now 3 games behind, or is it ahead or behind with them?
Well, getting the number 1 pick in the draft is like their equivalent to winning the NBA championship.
Yeah, for
because
them it would be.
you're going to get Zion or R.J. Barrett.
Yeah.
I mean, R.J. Barrett's performance with Zion Williamson injured.
I've heard a lot of scouts saying that they think that R.J. Barrett might be a better NBA player than Zion. I don't know if that's going to happen.
I don't know.
There's-
Zion Williams is like Charles Barkley on steroids.
Well, then I don't know how that.
That's what I see.
Yeah, because a lot.
I see a mix of Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal. Remember when Shaquille O'Neal first came in the league with the Magic in
He was
'92?
unstoppable.
He would take the ball, he would run the break. That's what I see with Williamson. And then Zion Williamson can dominate the boards at 6'8". I mean,
But will he be able to against guys that are all 6'8"?
yes.
That's the thing. I mean,
Yes.
I just wonder. I mean, maybe he probably will. By the way, the Flyers apparently got the alarm clock must have gone off because it's
There
now
you go.
2-1.
1-1. Oh,
No,
it's
it's
2 to
2 to
1.
1.
All right.
2-1.
Flyers hottest team in hockey.
Yes, they are.
Not the best team in hockey, but the hottest team in hockey.
They yeah. Well, Ottawa is a team that they should roll, and they
Well, they're taking
obviously
care of
didn't-
business right now.
Yeah, they didn't show up in the first period, but they're taking care of Ottawa like they should.
But getting back to Zion Williamson, whether he plays or not, like he's proven what he has to prove to be the first or second pick in the draft. If the
no
Knicks,
question.
If someone wants to tell me that R.J. Barrett is better and he should be the first pick, I disagree, but there's enough merit to that argument where you're not going to get a big stink out of me. So he's worked himself into the first or second pick of the draft, no matter if he plays or not. His knee's a little bent. His knee's not. There's no way that knee's 100%. I mean, knee sprains can be tricky.
He's not going to play He's not going to play in the tournament. He may play the NCAA tournament, but he's not.
They're looking.
The league tournament. I can't imagine he's going to play in the league tournament.
He almost played against North Carolina Saturday, and that's my team. If we're looking
got
at
the Tar Heels.
If we're looking at favorites to win the national championship, this North Carolina team has absolutely everything. They have Kobe White. He's got number 2. He's got the big fro. He gets it done.
What about Kentucky and Tennessee? They're pretty good too.
Tennessee. First off, I don't think Kentucky's deep enough to make a run.
Yeah, I could see that.
They usually run with 5, and one of their 5, Reed Travis, who's a big guy, is injured. So we'll see what happens. The beauty of the SEC is there's pretty much no way that it's not going to be Kentucky and LSU in the final. They're the 2 best teams. The SEC stinks. LSU's in shambles. Their coach is suspended for the wiretap nonsense with paying recruits, and everybody cheats in college basketball, but it's the true idiots who actually get caught.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We're looking
that's
at you,
my
Will
take.
Wade.
Yeah, Will Wade.
Yeah.
Sean Miller. Did you see his speech after Arizona's senior night ceremony? He basically said goodbye to the fans, like he's going to be dismissed or he's going to resign after the season.
Some of these guys
what a joke!
What a
black eye for college sports. But
I mean, it is what it is, Rob. You know, you're gonna have this going on. I mean, Rick Pitino, he's another one.
Yeah,
you know, I mean,
he did win a championship in Europe.
Yeah,
well, he's a good coach. I mean, it's not about the question of whether he can coach, but you know,
maybe he'll coach the Knicks again.
Oh God, that would be a disaster.
That's a Knicks move. How about your boy James Dolan telling that guy he's banned from the stadium?
James Dolan, boy, oh boy, I'll tell you what.
Is he the worst or is he the worst?
he's got.
He's terrible.
He's just got himself such a temper. You know, the guy should have also when he yelled.
He just looks
he
like
should have just.
You know when he smiled at that guy and said, "You want to watch the games from home?"
Well,
like when he smiles and grins like that, he just exudes evilness.
Yeah, he exudes one of those guys that just thinks he's better than everybody. So
why does he think? Why does he think that he's on this high horse when the most famous player on his team year after year is Madison Square Garden?
Well, that's been going on for a while.
That's the only thing they got. Oh, we play in the Garden. We play in the Garden.
The problem with James Dolan, listen, James Dolan, as far as money is concerned, he's a great owner as far as paying. As he'll spend the money. That's not the issue with him. The problem with him is he's too loyal, and he just allows guys that don't know what they're doing to stay in their jobs forever
but the
and
key
ever.
is to not hire people who don't know what they're doing.
But he just hires them, and then he ignores everything that happens until there's so much screaming and yelling and carrying on by the fans that he can't take it anymore.
But, how dare him, voice disdain towards a displeased fan?
Well, I heard the fan didn't even curse at him. All the fan did was yell, "Sell the team," and then
that's it.
Yeah,
he's banned.
Well,
this
isn't the first time I've heard that this has happened with him. I mean, he's a big baby and he's an egomaniac, and he obviously can't take any kind of criticism. I mean, it's ridiculous because the Knicks are terrible, but I mean, they are right now the most expensive team as far as Forbes is concerned in the league. I mean, they're the league's most valuable.
The Knicks are?
Yeah.
Over the Lakers?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, they are.
That's interesting. What about the Lakers? Got to be number 2.
I don't know where the Lakers are, but I know the Knicks right now are
so the
rated
number one.
1.
I'm going to assume that the Lakers are number 2. So the 2 most valuable franchises in professional basketball might be the 2 biggest dumpster fires in professional basketball.
Well, the Lakers aren't as big a dumpster fire as the Knicks.
It's pretty bad out there.
It's getting to that point.
I mean, LeBron has alienated all of his teammates, and nobody wants to play with him unless they're a big star. I mean, it seems like his political games and his lobbying for big stars is
He's gotten himself. Yeah, he's just gone. Problem with LeBron is he's gone over the top, and throwing all your teammates under the bus just doesn't work. You can't keep doing that.
Then he's relying on them to make a run, be with them, stand by him as their team
and
leader.
They're not.
Why would you?
Well, I mean, he basically tried to trade the whole team for Anthony Davis. I mean,
and then he hates Luke Walton. Luke Walton looks like he's going to be out of a job.
Right.
Magic Johnson wants Coach K or Doc Rivers, which, I guess that's a typical Laker thing to do.
I guess he'll get probably Doc Rivers because I don't see Coach K going into the NBA. Why would he?
I wouldn't. Not to coach that.
Why
that's
does it,
circus.
Why does he?
Unless you lay out Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard, and LeBron James in your starting lineup, then he might go, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose they could.
Or they get Durant. Durant decides to leave Golden State.
I think
it's
if
LeBron and Durant.
I think
and
if
Anthony
Durant,
Davis.
I think if Durant leaves, I think Durant would go to the Clippers if he goes into LA. I don't think he wants to.
Thought
go
he was
to
going
Lakers.
to the Knicks.
Well, I still think it's going to be Durant and Kyrie Irving. I mean, I've been saying that since day one. It just seems that there have been a lot of hints dropped, but I mean, who knows? One thing about the Knicks, if they can't get one of these two guys to play for them, they're in trouble. And that trade they made to trade Porzingis is really going to come back to bite them.
Well, the only reason you do that is so if you don't get, you're right. Because
you better have a very good reason to think that you're going to be able to get two of these guys to sign. Again, it's mostly been the talk in New York is Leonard and not Leonard. I'm sorry, Kyrie Irving and Durant. They've been the big talk. So I mean, we'll see what happens. I haven't heard anything about Leonard or any of the other guys that are.
You gotta think he's going west.
Kemba Walker is another one that's been discussed with the Knicks if they can't get somebody. But I mean, really, they need. Let's be honest. They need to make sure they sign Durant. Durant has to be one of the two guys.
I mean, good luck. I don't see it. Maybe Kyrie, but Kyrie is a weirdo.
He's a strange guy.
Very strange.
He's really strange.
And I wouldn't classify him as a leader either. So if you have him with a bunch of young guys, I don't know how that's going to work unless you have Durant with him or Anthony
you'd
Davis
have to have
with him.
Well, Anthony Davis is not. They're not going
to trade for him.
Well, they're not going to do that.
Why?
Because they'd have to trade their number one pick.
Why? So
you're not going to trade Zion. You want to have Zion. You want to have two. You want to have two superstars with the first or second pick of the draft. That's the whole point, to have three potential superstars on your team. That's what they want to do.
Right, but when push comes to shove, if I have to trade for Anthony Davis to play with Kyrie Irving, I'm trading Zion Williamson for Anthony Davis.
I don't think they would do that. I mean, I think at this point, I think they're looking to try to sign two supermax players. I mean,
I would trade Ben Simmons for Anthony Davis in 5 seconds.
Kemba Walker would be a guy
and
they
sign
might try to
a
get.
traditional point guard, which the Sixers are better suited to win with. Because Ben
What about-
Simmons can't cover opposing point guards, and he's too soft to cover.
I think
guards
Kemba Walker would be
or
perfect.
forwards.
I think Kemba Walker would be perfect for your team.
Yeah,
He distributes the ball. He can shoot, but he's looking to make plays, and he can shoot.
I do want to get in the Sixers. Waiting patiently for Phil Martelli to check in at 8:20. We should have him by 8:30. Talking all things college hoops. Are you a big tournament guy, Brad?
for college.
Yes. You a big
No.
tournament guy?
No.
You don't like college basketball even a little bit.
I'm not a big fan of college basketball.
How is that possible? So what's the I think the first 2
I'm
days
a
of March.
I'm a hockey guy, to be honest.
So
to be
what is
honest
it?
with you.
Playoff time, the Stanley Cup?
Yes.
That's the best time?
For me, the best time of the year is right after April through June. You got the Stanley Cup playoffs and the baseball season, and I just think that in the baseball season's just starting, and I just think that's the most exciting time of the year. I mean, playoff hockey is just, to me, is awesome. I mean, listen, I'm not I'm not the biggest basketball fan in the world.
I'm locked in.
think
On
you
those
noticed
first
that.
2 days of the tournament, I'm locked in from noon to midnight.
Oh, listen. I watch the games. I watch the NCAA tournament games. I just during the year I don't watch a heck of a lot of them. Also watching the Knicks, it's just been kind of frustrating. It kind of makes you very down on basketball in general when you watch this
I
game.
can imagine. Well, we've been there with the Sixers.
It's just been going on and on and on, and well, yeah, you know what it's like.
Let's run through some comments here on Facebook. Tom Arnone says, "What's up? What's up, Tom?" At Tom Arnone agrees with me. Absolutely, March Madness is best time of year. I will say that to your baseball point, opening day of baseball is fantastic because you get ace versus ace, unless there's an injury.
You get the best
like
matchups.
if the Astros are playing the Phillies, it's going to be Verlander versus Nola, and I think that's just awesome. Because it doesn't always work out like that as the season progresses.
Every game is like that, and it's really it's a lot of fun. Because you don't always get these matchups, but opening day you always get the best matchups.
Looks like Frank is setting the stage for our Phil Martelli interview. We'll have him in just a second. I mean, run through a few more comments here. Oh God, Stephanie Hu, LO, sure. Right now, my Flyers will win this. Book it. I hope they beat the Ottawa Senators.
They should beat
Stephanie
the Ottawa
Huber.
Senators for goodness
I hope
sakes.
they're up 2-1 right now.
Yeah, and they've only
Tom
played about 10
Arnone's looking
minutes.
forward to the interview. Do we have Coach Martelli on the line? Coach, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Absolutely. Thanks for a few minutes.
Of course, Coach Martelli, this is Brad and Rob. We're the Sports Hounds, and we thank you once again for joining us for a third year in a row. We really appreciate your time. For those of you who are not in the know, Coach Martelli is the coach of St. Joseph's, and they're in the Atlantic 10 Conference. Coach, I wanted to ask you a question regarding your team, and just looking at a couple of other teams who really got off to horrible starts this year and are now playing for a conference championship, and that would be Monmouth and Iona. Do you think that your team has the stomach to try to make a run like that?
Versus Duquesne, a team that beat us in Pittsburgh earlier this year. We'd like to be in position to be playing Friday. And rather than talk about, as Monmouth and Iona kind of shocked the world, all we're interested in is, can we give ourselves a chance to play again on Friday? And the only way we could do that is to win on Thursday.
What do you have to do to beat Duquesne on Thursday to advance? It's a team, you lost a real nail-biter to them earlier in the season, 1-point victory for Duquesne. So how can you learn from that and get the victory on Thursday to play Friday?
Well, there's a couple things. First of all, you start numerically. Duquesne forced us into 12 turnovers. We're third or fourth in the country in fewest turnovers per game. So 12 is too many. They had 6 guys. They were a team that came into that game not shooting a great percentage from 3. They made 9 threes. So we have to play a much cleaner game, and we're going to have to shoot the ball better than we have over our last, I believe it's now 7 games. We're shooting under 40%, and I would have told you in the summer that this was one of the better shooting teams, and we would be one of the better shooting teams in the Atlantic 10. That hasn't come to fruition, so we have to make sure that we play comfortably. We have a little bit of tension. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of tension. It's playoff time, but we have to play better individually and collectively than we have over the last 6 weeks.
I want to ask you about the A10 in general. It's kind of been a round-robin type of league. Different teams at different times have been at the top of the standings. You've had Davidson at the top for a while. You have VCU, who's the preseason favorite and the 1 seed in the tournament. St. Louis and Rhode Island have made some noise near the top. What's your impression of the state of the Atlantic 10 as a conference overall at this point in time?
Well, I think you have to do history tells you that this is a conference that has had uh, 3.5 bids over the last 25 years. This year, we're going to really fight to get two. VCU is going to be in their name is going to be announced next Sunday, and then we need a great run for a team to win the league who isn't in the top two or three. We need Davidson or Dayton to get to a final. Um, the league has remarkable young players. And retrospectively, I don't think any of us anticipated that it would be as difficult to win with young players. Scheduling was great. Non-conference schedules were great. We as a league just didn't win enough of our 50-50 games. And all credit to VCU for going 16-2, winning the regular season. And now the rest of us have um, opportunities here to make a mark. And you're playing in Brooklyn and talking about the future of the Atlantic 10, not for now, but starting on Monday, there's a lot of teams in our league that are going to be dedicated to NCAA tournament berths next year. This year we have to accept it and look for a great competitive tournament this weekend.
Now, last year we talked to you just after Selection Sunday, and you got pretty heated when we brought up the amount of kind of average big conference teams and some really good smaller conference teams being left out. I remember Oklahoma got in, that upset you. You thought maybe a smaller school team should have gotten in. Do you anticipate the selection committee giving more love this year to the smaller school, the small non-power conferences?
No, the power conferences haven't figured out. That's why they've gone to 20 games in their league schedules. A team like Lipscomb, a team like Belmont, teams that won their regular season, and now they get bumped in their tournament. And meanwhile, and I'm not knocking anybody, we're still talking about Indiana. Indiana won 12 of 13 games. They lost 12 of 13 games in January and February. We're still talking. NC State. NC State had the worst non-conference schedule in America. 351. And so I'm not anticipating anything different. The non-Power 5 schools have been put on a shelf. We've been told to mind our own business. And unfortunately, I think the same thing's going to play out this Sunday night.
Now, when you say you've been told to mind your own business, who's saying that, and what do they mean by that?
Well, the committee is saying it by their selections. The committee believes that the American basketball viewing public wants to see a sub 500 team from a power conference before they want to see a powerful non-power 5. Furman won at Villanova. That's near impossible to do what Furman did. They won at Villanova in the semifinals of their league. They will not even get a mention on Sunday because they believe that I'm just using a name that a team limping to the finish line,
St. John's, for example.
St. John's, for example, that they believe that the public would rather see St. John's play than Furman.
Well,
we that are in the non-Power 5 don't have to accept it, but we can expect it, that it's not going to change, and we need to look at creative ways to schedule and almost force our way into the conversation.
I mean, is there anything you can do as an esteemed Atlantic 10 coach, to appeal to the committee's sense of fairness in this matter, or Have you tried
No,
anything or?
I think that the committee, they understand that you can type these numbers into a computer, and once you type them in, uh, this is what it spits out, and then they kind of take it from there and tell you, like, look, this was really computer generated. It's numeric, but it's numeric because it's tilted in their advantage, and I would just beg for common sense. So if NC State, your non-conference portion of your schedule is yours, so NC State purposely scheduled the worst non-conference schedule in America, because they knew they were in a league with Duke and North Carolina and Syracuse and Virginia, and they're going to pick up a lot of power points because of the teams that they play in their league.
How
I
do you
just think if you don't have a 500 record in your league, you should not be in consideration for an NCAA berth.
So a team I really like out of the A10, all due respect to your St. Joe's Hawks, is Davidson. They are not the one seed in the tournament. They're probably going to need to win the tournament to get in, with VCU getting
That's
at large bid. But I think they have a lot of talent. 4 of their losses came when their sophomore Kellen Grady was injured. One of those was to North Carolina. You throw that out. How do you think, for example, a team like Davidson would match up against an Ohio State, a Florida, or an Alabama, teams that I think are relatively average that are probably going to get bids from
That's a great
Power 5
description.
conference?
Relatively average. And if anybody took the time to look at Davidson, they would see that the backcourt for Davidson are both future NBA players. John Axel Goodmanson from Iceland, likely to be the player of the year in the Atlantic 10. And then Kellen Grady, who's battled an injury all year. They're both NBA players. Bob McKillop is a Hall of Fame level coach. Their style is very entertaining. But, you know, they played Wake Forest. They played North Carolina. And they didn't win those games. And no matter what, the committee will hold that against them. And I do agree with you. Davidson is going to have to win the tournament to get a bid to the NCAA tournament. And that's a shame because they have outstanding players.
Last question before we let you go. Fran Dunphy, kind of a frenemy of yours for years and years in the Big Five. It's his last season. He was able to win his final home game at Temple over UCF. My opinion is that win will put them in the NCAA tournament, no matter what happens in the American Conference tournament. Talk about what kind of team that they have and how far can they go, and also do the same thing with Jay Wright and Villanova.
Well, I think with both teams, it all depends on the draw. The NCAA tournament is all about matchups, so you have to see who they draw. And the other thing is you want both teams to go in on an uptick. So whether it's Villanova pushing through the Big East tournament, whether it's Temple getting opportunity maybe to play Houston again in the AAC, they will both get their names called next Sunday. And we would hope that they will get favorable matchups, games that you say, yeah, that team's not overpowering. In both Villanova and Temple's case, they just want to have a chance because they've had magnificent years. And the players, again, like Phil Booth and Eric Pascal for Villanova, along with a bunch of young guys that they've led to win the Big East again. And then Temple, Shiz Alston, and Quentin Rose, coach, is touching. And nobody deserves nor wants it less the attention that Fran Dunphy has gotten. Magnificent job, and I'm hoping that they can take him out with a title in the AAC this week.
All right, I know you're a big Eagles fan too, Phil Martelli. So do you have any quick analysis on the free agent moves?
No, but do you research it? I'm much bigger on the Phillies. I can't wait to get down there, sit out in right field, and try and catch one of his 60 home runs this year.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, boy, here we go.
It's 60. He's got him 60. You hear that?
60.
You're saying Brad's a Yankees fan, Phil. He doesn't even think he's going to get the 40.
Wow.
No, I don't think he's going to get to 50.
He's going to hit 51.
I mean, really hard to be a fan of the Yankees. They've only won 27 World Championships.
He is from New York, though. We'll give him a little bit of a break.
Come join us in Philly, where our record deserves a lot of deserves a parade.
You got it, Coach.
This is a big deal, man.
We totally agree with you. Phil Martelli, good luck in the Atlantic 10 tournament. Good luck against Duquesne on Thursday. We wish you very best of success, and thanks for hopping on for a few minutes. Good luck again.
I appreciate you guys having me. Thank you.
All right, there he is, Coach Phil Martelli. 60 home runs for Bryce Harper. You don't even think he's going to get the 40.
No, I think he's going to get
42. I don't
42.
even have him at 60, and I smile ear to ear.
60.
Ear
Coach
to ear.
bringing
when
the
we
fire
talk
on that
60.
one.
Look at that.
Wow.
Trying to get some Eagle stuff. He said, no, Rob. Let's talk about Bryce Harper
There we
and the
go.
Phillies. What a great
That's going to go in the best of the week.
That's got to be in
Yeah.
the best of the week.
You got to throw that in there.
That's best of the year.
Please.
Mark the time, Frank, for Brodo.
All right.
I always forget to
Coach
do it.
Martelli.
Around 8:34.
Yeah.
Coach
60
Martelli.
bombs.
34 minutes in.
Coach
Mr.
Martelli has announced that Bryce Harper will hit 60 home runs. This
All
year.
right. We'll take that. I
All right.
love it. I love it.
I'll tell you what. If he hits 60 home runs, you guys are going to be. You guys are going to have home
I
field
got him
advantage.
on. I got him on
playoffs.
triple. Well, the Phillies are the odds aren't favorites in the National League. We didn't even have baseball on the schedule, but Phil, man, he got me all worked up.
I still think it's the Dodgers, but that's okay.
Yeah, Clayton Kershaw
Easy.
can't even play catch.
All
He
right.
started to play catch today.
Let's hit some messages here on Facebook. Michael Chromiak, what's up, Chromo? Hey, fellas, love Phil, the true Philadelphia treasure. Do the Temple Owls have a chance to make a run? Like Coach said, that's from James Tatum. James, they got a guard named Shiz Alston Jr. He leads their team in both points and rebounds. They're third in the American Conference, so they're the 3 seed in a pretty good conference that has Cincinnati, UCF, and Houston in it. So to not be fourth out of that pack of kind of powerhouses, that's pretty good. And but like Coach said, it's going to depend on the matchups. I hope that Temple and Villanova can play one of these shithole SEC teams, the freaking worst conference. They're so average. It's Kentucky and Tennessee, and then everyone else just completely stinks. Ole Miss shows signs of being good, but
Rob, what kind of seed do you think these teams can get?
Temple,
Yeah, I mean, can they get a 7 and not end up having to, if they win the first game, not get stuck playing, with one of the top 4 teams in the country?
I think Temple will be a 9, 10, or 11, depending on how they do in the.
Well, they won't be
American
under.
Conference.
They won't be under 11. 11 after 11 is all the.
They could be a 12 in a playing game. I mean, you heard
that's
Coach,
that's an
yeah, but
at-large,
you heard Coach and how the selection committee doesn't use common sense and favors Power 5 schools when, in some cases,
Yeah, but they're a little
probably
better.
shouldn't.
But they're at a better level than that to be at 12. I mean, 12 to 16 is like for teams like Fairleigh Dickinson and Iona.
No, 12
and Monmouth
seeds.
and teams like that. I mean,
Generally, yes, but they have a play-in game that goes to play a 5
isn't that usually
seed.
a 7-10 or something like that? Isn't it like usually a 7-10?
I mean, usually
game?
there's a play-in game for
or a
the
6 and
final 11
Yeah.
seed, and there's a play-in game for the final 12 seed.
And then the
and
two
then
16
and then the
seed
two
games.
16 seeds
Okay.
have that. And then, like he said, I mean, I don't know how many times. I mean, I've done 7 bracketology articles over the past 2 months. I missed one because I was sick 1 week. I think I've written about Davidson in all but 2 of them.
You were hyping those Wildcats up.
I
They're
do
good.
have one team.
They're a good team.
I do have one team we didn't mention in that interview, and that was St. Bonaventure. They seem to be a pretty impressive team.
They got to win. I mean,
Yeah.
they got no. I mean, but the Atlantic 10 should be a 2-bid league. 100% a 2-bid league. VCU and Davidson should make
absolutely.
it. Should make it. And then Murray State's going to make it with John Morant because they won the Ohio Valley Conference.
Mm-hmm.
That should be a 2-bid league
Yeah.
as well.
Because you got to throw in Belmont as well.
Absolutely. 26-5. And the Ohio Valley had good teams this year. Austin Peay and Jacksonville State, who came up short in the semifinals, those two teams could have easily been playing for the Ohio Valley Championship final, and Murray State and Belmont wouldn't even get a sniff. But I mean, I don't get it. And then NC State. I mean, NC State scored 24 points in an entire basketball game this season against Virginia Tech.
24 points.
24 points.
24.
And they're going to make the.
Well, I mean, they're on the bubble, but I mean, Coach Martelli doesn't think they should make it, and he knows much more about basketball than I do.
Yeah, no,
I have to agree with them. They're 21-10 in the ACC, but because this is what Wilson Syracuse Orange always used to do. They used to not play anybody in the non-conference because they had. This was back when the Big East was, the Big East, because you had Villanova, Georgetown, UConn. So on, so just a murderer's row every night.
St. John's, Seton Hall,
St. John's, all Providence.
Yeah, they were all real
absolutely
good teams.
So, and then a couple of years they got left out, and Jim Boeheim's on ESPN with Dick Vitale screaming and yelling. Well, what do you want, dude? You don't play anybody. You can't rely on your conference for all your quality wins. So, in that sense, Phil Martelli and I are 100% on the same page. The committee needs to use more common sense. South Dakota State is a good team. They don't have a prayer to get in because they lost.
They got upset by a 9-22 Western Illinois.
And that's my
crazy.
beef with championship week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cute that but who the hell wants to see a 9-22 team play North Carolina as a 16 seed?
Yeah, it's going to be a 60-point
That's a
game.
complete waste of time.
Exactly.
I mean, I can get it's a 1 versus 16. I mean, it happened last year, but
yeah, but that's 1 out of 100.
And then Oklahoma getting in last year was a joke. They didn't do anything
Exactly.
in the Big 12 and just get in because they have Trae Young.
Yeah.
Because the committee wants Trae Young.
And same thing with Missouri. I wasn't too thrilled with Missouri either going into the tourney because you want to hype up Michael Porter Jr.
He didn't even play. Didn't even back injury.
He played like 3 games. He played like the season opener, and then like 2 tourney games. Yeah.
And I agree. I agree with him in the sense that if you don't have a winning record in your conference, you can't get in.
Right.
Oh, I agree. I agree about that.
Now I'm going to sound like a little bit of a hypocrite when my bracketology article hits him because I think Texas should get in, and they were only 8-10 in the Big 12.
Well, you're allowed to maybe have one exception.
But
we'll give you that. But
Texas has loads of quality wins.
They do.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be a very good reason.
And they played the 4th hardest schedule in the country. And I like their coach. James Tatum, trade Ben Simmons. You're trolling, right? Absolutely not. I'm not trolling. I would trade Ben Simmons for Anthony Davis in 5 seconds. 5 seconds.
Only if you sign Kemba. Only if you sign Kemba next year.
I would sign Kemba Walker, and I would.
Yeah,
I'm going to get into this. We're going to segue into the Sixers in a few minutes, so I'll get back to James's comments. But Ben Simmons, J.J. Redick is a starting backcourt. Not high on my pecking order. I'm not pleased with them right now. They do beat the Indiana Pacers yesterday to get the 3 seed.
Which they should. They're talent-wise, they're far superior talent-wise. I guess the question to me is going to be, because I think Boston is going to pass Indiana too, and I think Boston is going to end up in. I think it's going to be the Sixers and the Celtics battling for that 4 spot in the NBA for the 4 seed and the 3 seed.
A lot of shout outs to Coach for checking in. Bob and Bucks appreciating that. We got D-Jax back. Jay Halsey. We're talking about that a lot on YouTube. A lot of moving and shaking going on in the NFL.
Exactly.
Chrome checking Philadelphia. Real talk. He's an icon. Thank you, Phil. But honestly, Philly looks like they could run the table this year, except in hockey. I don't know about
true.
that.
Kind of.
If you saw me on the YouTube, I kind of flung my hand at the TV. The Senators did tie it. It looks like the Flyers might have retaken the lead here.
I think it's 4-2, isn't it?
4-2. So we missed 2 goals during that interview.
Yeah, I think the.
Well, guess what, Brad? The Flyers don't have problems scoring goals.
Well, listen, at the beginning of the
You said
season,
that-
did I not mention that I thought that they were going to win the division? And then they were giving up goals in bushels. And that's what really set them back. But I never thought that they wouldn't score. And don't forget also, at the beginning of the season, they didn't have Van Riemsdyk. And Van Riemsdyk's missed like 2 months, and he's got 20 goals this year. So, I mean, 20 goals with 2 months missed, that's pretty darn good. I mean, he's a legitimate threat every time he's on the ice.
Jay Halsey, I think Temple will get a 10 seed at best because of the NCAA being modest, like y'all just said. I don't disagree with the NCAA, but Temple has the chance to really make some noise in the American because they avoid Houston until the final. And I don't think Houston's that great at all. You want to talk about?
I like Houston, but
you want to
they're
talk
a
about
good team, but I don't think they're
they
going
only
to make
have
a
2
deep
losses
run.
because they don't play anybody.
Exactly.
Temple, at least,
They
at
played
the
somebody.
very least, they go through the Big Five.
Yeah,
Which is St. Joe's, Nova. Penn actually won the Big Five this year.
they did.
Beating Nova, beating Temple, and beating St. Joe's and LaSalle, but everybody beats LaSalle these days.
Well, how about this score, Rob?
61-35. It's a big game in the NBA. The Nets over the Nets and the
The
Pistons.
Nets are ahead of the Pistons at halftime.
'Cause that's for the 6th seed.
60. What was that? 65. What was that? 65. 61-35.
Jeez.
Holy smoke! Boy, the Nets
Needs
came out
better
smoking
defense
tonight.
on the ice.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the Sixers. real quick.
Exactly.
Let's
There,
get it.
there's a few impatient folks over in the YouTube
Go
chat.
ahead.
They're
Run
asking.
through
They're
'em.
asking for Sixers
They're
talk.
clamoring. They're clamoring.
They're clamoring.
We
They
got
want
any
it. They're
well,
asking questions.
Mr. Embiid came back yesterday.
Yep, they did.
Let's segue into that. Frank, go through the YouTube comments.
All right, so the YouTube comments, we got Clearfield Kevin. I think he's representing his Nova Nation with the Villanova Wildcats.
Yeah.
Then we got Foolish Demon welcoming back D-Jax, as well as Bryce Blackwell. Then we got David Rosca saying, "Yo, what's up, boys?"
That's a huge trade getting
Oh, yeah.
Jackson. Deshaun Jackson.
Then Bonk Mahone begins starts beginning the asking about the Sixers. He's saying, do y'all talk Sixers in this chat?
Yes, we're going to talk Sixers
Yes.
right now.
There we go.
We do. We had
And
we had
then,
Coach Martelli, and we wanted to talk a little college.
am,
And then Biff Rickles also asked the same thing. You talking Sixers, and they're
I'm
asking
not-
a bunch of questions as well in the chat.
What are they asking? I want to hear
All
what,
right,
what the
so-
people want to know
all right,
about the
so
Sixers.
let's
I got a
see.
lot to say because I had Friday night. I had a couple of epiphanies about the Sixers, and one of them being is they're going to be the 4 seed.
Yep.
They're going to be in the 4-5 match against Indiana, and then the problem with being in the 4-5 match in the East is in the second round you're going to have to play 1 seed Milwaukee. The Sixers have no chance of beating the Milwaukee Bucks in a 7-game series, so they will not be reaching the Eastern Conference Finals.
All right, I covered Bonk's first question. If we matched up with the Bucks, now he's asking if we
No,
match up
because
with
the-
Toronto. How will we match up against Toronto?
Not well. Not well.
You know,
because-
Toronto was getting knocked off by Cleveland. They're down 14 after 3 quarters.
Okay, but Kawhi Leonard, I'm sure, didn't play because he never plays because of load management. That's like the new fad thing.
Oh,
But
really? Let's see.
to get to your question about Toronto, no, I don't think they match up well with Toronto at all because number one, Kawhi can cover Ben on
Kawhi's
the
playing, by the way.
Okay,
23
so
points.
they took it on the chin. They take it
well,
on the chin.
it's only.
It's okay.
They could come back.
But to answer whoever's question it was in
Yeah.
the YouTube chat about Toronto, Kawhi Leonard is the perfect matchup both offensively and defensively for Ben Simmons. So they can match up with Ben, which is half the team's problems in the league because Ben's a 6'10" point guard. Not everyone has an answer for a 6'10" point guard. Toronto does. And what the Sixers don't have against Toronto in terms of defense is a matchup for Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry is going to torch the Sixers. The Sixers get torched by guards more than any other team in the league. And it's ridiculous. And it's because Ben Simmons can't cover guards on defense, and J.J. Redick, if he's not making threes, scoring 25, 30 points, is completely useless. He's completely useless, Brad. He's one-dimensional. He can't cover anybody.
Why not just put him on the bench and let Jimmy Butler be a shooting guard instead?
Okay, so then, you put Jimmy on the bench, then who's your 5? Or, excuse me, you
No.
put JJ on the bench, who's your 5?
Okay, you
You
have
have Ben, you have Jimmy.
Ben, Jimmy, Tobias Harris, Embiid,
Joe at center.
and I mean, you could find a power forward who does the dirty work. Who do you
But
want
we need
doing
a
the dirty
team.
work?
We need now. We need now. Who now on this team? Because you can't just pluck a player off the street at this point.
No, I'm talking about. No, I'm not talking
You
about a
lost
player
it-
off the street. I'm just saying, just make a little lineup change and let JJ come off the bench.
The Sixers don't have anyone because you can't play Boban and Joe. Number one, Boban's hurt. You can't play Boban and Joe together at the same time.
But you could play. Thing is, you could play small. I mean, what about like T.J. McConnell? You put him in. You can play small.
He can't cover anybody either.
Yeah, but he's
He's
better
too
defensively.
weak and slow.
But he's better defensively than Redick. Redick is really slow. I mean,
Right, but at least J.J. Redick is 6'4", whereas T.J. McConnell is barely 6 foot.
Well, I mean, look. The thing is,
Ben
you've got
Simmons-
you've got enough height with Embiid and Simmons that you should get enough rebounds. And Harris is not a bad rebounder either. He can get in there and get some rebounds.
Yes, I agree.
So
But
I
you're
mean,
already playing small with the lineup you have now. And J.J. Redick is completely useless unless he's scoring 25 to 30 points and shooting the lights out.
well, who would you want to play power forward? Because that's what I think. That's where I think maybe you might want to just make a change. And if you're going to put Jimmy at the
No,
shooting guard,
The way, I mean, you can't – they have who they have at this point. Against teams with guards like Kyle Lowry or Kyrie Irving like the Celtics, and the Sixers haven't beat the Celtics in years, it feels like. So I don't really know how that's going to change in an Eastern Conference Finals setting because I think the Celtics are going to make the Eastern Conference Finals. I think they will end up playing Toronto in the second round, and I think they're good enough to beat Toronto.
oh, they most certainly are.
So if I had to, it's going to be Milwaukee and Boston to go to the NBA Finals. I would slightly favor Milwaukee. I mean, I wouldn't put it past Milwaukee to win the whole thing. They're very good. They get Mirotic at the deadline, and then they get Gasol in the buyout market, which was
Just seems to me the
totally
Sixers,
fishy. How the San Antonio Spurs are allowed to buy out Pau Gasol on the buyout market when they're, in the 7-8 mix for the playoffs. A playoff team should not be buying out players to get under the luxury tax in the middle of the season. That's
very
total
bizarre.
bogus.
That's bizarre.
So
The Sixers seem to match up pretty well against the Bucks, though, don't they? When they play them.
I'd have to look at it. I don't have that. Bob Brinkman, how about Scott to start? We should at least try before playoffs. I'm assuming he's saying start Scott over Redick. But it's problematic because Scott can't cover a guard. You need someone who can cover a guard.
Can Jimmy cover guards?
Yes, Jimmy can cover the 2 guard or the point guard. You can cover the best guard. That's not a problem. The problem is the off guard that Jimmy's not covering goes completely bananas every night.
Because Simmons can't guard him.
Because Simmons can't guard him. He has to cover the point. He has to cover the power forward or the small forward on defense. And I got news for you, folks. I'm not sure Ben Simmons will ever be an elite point guard when it comes to playoff basketball and playing in the half court as a point guard. He strikes me as a half court point forward on the offensive end of the floor. If you want to run and gun and get the ball to Ben on an outlet pass and have him run you into the ground, that's what Ben Simmons is.
I mean, he is a dynamic player. Let's be honest.
Absolutely.
He really is.
He's a better version, but Brad, you can't play. I mean, you've been watching basketball a long time. You've been back in the day, way longer than me.
He kind of reminds me of a tall Jason Kidd.
I remember Lamar. He's a better version of Lamar Odom.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
He should be a point forward in the half court set, and he should run. He should be push pace.
The difference though is that Jason
On
Kidd
the fast break.
Jason Kidd eventually became a reasonably good shooter.
Agreed, but the reason I don't think it's a fair comparison between Kidd and Simmons is Kidd could cover a point guard.
Yeah,
Ben can't cover a point guard.
He could cover
That's
a lot
why
of guys.
you have no chance against a team like the Rockets, who they lost by 16 against the game on Friday night before Joe got back, because you got J.J. Redick trying to cover Chris Paul.
Yeah, but you also didn't have JoJo.
That didn't factor into the loss.
Oh, come on! Without him,
No, it
without
didn't.
him,
Brad,
it makes a big difference.
It does make a difference.
Because
yes,
you're scoring more points though. You could still when he's in there, when JoJo's in there, you can outscore most teams.
When T.J. McConnell's matched up on James Harden, that's 2 points, maybe even 3 points. 4 points if he gets to the line on 4 points. I mean, it's
Nobody
a
can
recipe.
guard. But nobody can guard him.
Yeah, but there's guys who can do. You have a chance against.
Here's the thing, Rob. If you try to keep the rest of the team under control, the guy's not going to beat you by himself. Although they do have Capella back, and I remember you were saying.
Yeah, and they signed Fareed off the street. It was a great signing for them.
Yeah, and Capella's a bit.
They're a pretty good team. They seem to be really finding their stride at the right time, the Houston Rockets. But to Bob's point about Mike Scott, so what? Bob wants to go Mike Scott, Joe, Tobias, Jimmy, and Ben?
Yeah.
There's still not a guy to cover the 2 guard. Or the point guard, whoever you don't have Jimmy cover. That's the problem with this team.
That's problematic. Then.
Forget about offense. The team averages 105 points a game. I believe that's 4th in the NBA. They don't have a problem scoring points. Whether they can translate that and actually run sets and grind it out in the playoffs, I'm not so sure. You're going to win your first-round matchup. You're the 3 seed. You're going to be playing the Pistons, the
or
Bucks,
the Nets, and you'll overpower them.
The Nets should overpower them. Well, the Sixers have pretty much owned Andre Drummond and Blake Griffin since they've teamed up there in Detroit.
Brooklyn's given them
fits, but Brooklyn's not beating the Sixers 4 out of 7 times.
No, they might win a game or 2.
Maybe
I could see them giving them a battle
because their guards are pesky, and JJ Redick can't cover.
They're a deep
team. Dinwiddie. Yeah, they're
a deep team.
It's frustrating to watch this team because the backcourt of Ben Simmons and JJ Redick completely hamstrings this coaching staff on the defensive end of the floor.
But if you play a zone, wouldn't that help?
You can't play a zone in the top tier in the NBA. I know you're allowed to, but you can't play a zone. Come on.
Well, you could. I mean, because you got Embiid in the middle.
Come on, a zone in the NBA?
You're allowed to play.
I know you're allowed to play it, but I mean, you get the light shot out on you.
Not if you do a box and not if you do a box and 1.
That's not necessary. Okay, a box and 1. Okay.
I mean, because everybody can go out and then they come back in. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
know, but
you got
it's not
Embiid
high school or college. All these guys are elite scorers.
I understand that.
If you give these guys,
but if you got JoJo underneath, JoJo is an intimidator underneath.
That doesn't help you in a box and 1.
Yeah, but
he's got to play one side of the lane or the other. So, like, I don't know what you do when you play Kyrie Irving or Kyle Lowry. I just don't. And Milwaukee, they're that team this year. They changed their coach. They got Mirotic. They got Gasol. They signed up Bledsoe.
And Antetokounmpo is dominant.
Giannis, who I think should be the MVP. All due respect to James Harden's ability to score. The basketball, I would give the MVP. I just think that it's Milwaukee's year in the East. They've been the best team all year. They'll continue to be the best team in the playoffs. I don't see them collapsing. I don't think the Sixers have enough to beat them. I don't think Boston has enough to beat them. I don't think Toronto has enough to beat them. And they won't get swept by the Warriors in the finals.
Well, I'll tell you what, the Warriors had a little what shall we say, a little hiccup last night?
Yeah, who'd they lose to?
The Suns at home?
Yeah. That's a hiccup, but I mean whatever. I mean,
I heard they got booed pretty loudly last night.
As they should.
Yeah, that's.
I'm surprised that those hipster losers out there in San Francisco were aware enough to boo because they never know what's going on. They still think Dale Curry is starting at point guard, not Steph Curry. They don't deserve.
Yeah, right.
They don't deserve that dynasty at all. They're such fraud fans. It's ridiculous.
They
California.
They are.
Yeah, the Dodgers fans, they hate the Phillies too.
Well, Dodger fans hate everybody.
They hate the Phillies because we stole Harper from them.
Well, they also hate the Phillies because you beat them in 2008.
And
they thought they
2009.
And 2009.
They got Manny and they thought they were just going to coast.
Mm-hmm. And Manny was over the hill.
No, he
I mean, I'm talking about Randy Ramirez back then. Yeah,
Manny
Ramirez.
Ramirez.
He was over the hill when they got him.
He got in our ass in the 2008 series. I don't remember if he was on the team in 2009 or not.
he didn't have a great season though. He may have had a good playoff.
No,
I mean, I don't remember.
In 08 when he came over, he was kind of, he forced his way out of Boston, which I'm sure you know, being in LA East.
Oh yeah. Well, peeing on the Green Monster is not exactly the way to.
But he forced his much
make
like
friends and influence people.
Antonio Brown did.
Yeah, he did.
But he forced his way out of there, and then he flipped a switch when he went to LA, and he was a pain in the ass in the 08 NLCS. Anyway, that'll wrap up. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk Eagles, NFL free agency. A lot of activity in the NFC East. We're going to talk about Flyers. This game will be wrapping up. Looks like the Flyers are up 3-1
in the third.
The Ottawa Senators in the third. HD Radio Sports Hounds will be back right after this.
Hi, folks. Bob Mannery here. You're listening to A2D Radio, real sports talk radio for the fans, by the fans, no agenda. These guys are the best in the business. Hashtag it. No notes.
All right, we're back in the Real Talk studio. Second hour of the Sports Hounds, exclusively on YouTube. If you miss anything from the first half of the show, like our interview with St. Joseph's head coach Phil Martelli, you can check that out on our SoundCloud account, soundcloud.com. Search A2D Radio, you get everything right there. But, Brad, hockey, let's go through the out-of-town scoreboard before we get into the Flyers and the Jake Voracek suspension, which just
Okay, let's start.
angers me to my core.
The Tampa Bay Lightning continue to be the best team in hockey. They are drilling Toronto 5-1 in Toronto. The big game for the Flyers right here. The Islanders have a 1-0 lead over the Blue Jackets midway through the third period. The Flyers, of course, lead Ottawa 3-1. San Jose and Minnesota are scoreless, and Chicago over Arizona 2-1. And big game coming up. Actually, should start any moment now. Is the Carolina Hurricanes and the Colorado Avalanche.
Now that's a big game.
That is
in
a
terms
big,
for the Flyers.
big game
we need
for the Flyers.
We need
because-
Colorado to step up here.
Yes, Colorado is battling for their playoff
Wasn't
lives
Columbus,
as well.
Columbus not playing tonight?
No, Columbus is playing at the Islanders.
And how's that going?
They
I'm sorry.
trail 1-0 in the third period.
Well, that's good for the Flyers as well.
Absolutely. The Islanders have been slumping. They have not really played well.
The Flyers certainly have had their number the past few weeks.
they've
Flyers
pummeled
are the
them.
hottest team in hockey, Brad.
They've been for
Tampa
they've
Bay,
been
you
for a
mentioned
month.
as the best team in hockey, but the Flyers 17-4-2, I believe it is, in their last however many contests. Brian Elliott's playing well. They're scoring a lot of goals. They're getting defense to back it up.
They're getting strong goaltending also from Brian Elliott, which
Who would have thought?
Brian Elliott has had some good stretches in his career, and he's
I think you got to put Hart on the bench when he's healthy. If Elliott's playing like this, no.
yeah, you can't take Elliott out of the line. I mean, I think this is a lot like Neuvirth a couple of years ago when he got hot and they rode him in the playoffs, and they gave Washington one heck of a run a couple of years ago, if you recall, when they lost that series 4-2. Neuvirth was brilliant in that series. It's just the Flyers couldn't score then. The Flyers can score goals, and we know that, and I mentioned that at the beginning of the season when I picked them to win the division. They just didn't score. And the Pittsburgh Penguins, I also picked
You're
to
not far
make it.
off on your prediction either, because from December 27th to January to a few days into January, there's a 10-game stretch where I think they got 1 or 2 points, a couple of Bettman points.
Yeah,
All
I mean,
the others were losses.
yeah, they couldn't. The problem with the Flyers was they were giving up a lot of goals.
Pittsburgh's down. Columbus made a lot of moves at the deadline.
They don't seem to be working out all
Don't
that
seem to
well.
be working out. Maybe they'll gel when it comes to playoff time. 14 games to go. You got to start gelling now.
Well,
much
Columbus
like the
right now
Sixers.
is not in the playoffs.
That's right.
They're on the outside looking in. I mean, right now you are.
Carolina's
you are-
the last wild card. Is that correct?
Um,
Let me look at.
I think that. Let me think. Carolina is Carolina in 5th place, and I think Carolina had. Yeah, I think
They're
Carolina.
currently 4th in the East.
Yeah, Carolina is 4th in the East, and I think Montreal has 79 points, and I believe Columbus has 79 points. Correct?
Yes, Columbus has 79.
So yeah.
Let me figure out the
Carolina
rest of
has
the standings.
Carolina has 81 points. Columbus and Montreal have 79, and you have the Flyers at 74. So they're 5 points out of a playoff spot.
That's correct.
And Columbus is doing their part thus far, losing to the Islanders. And was Montreal playing tonight or no?
No, they have the night off.
So you could
Montreal
be
has been
if Flyers take care
wildly
of business here. That's
inconsistent.
3 points.
Yeah.
Now I keep hearing, oh, it's too many points, too little time. We need these teams to collapse, along with the Flyers being good.
Well, no,
I'm picking the Flyers against them unless they're playing the Capitals or the Lightning. I think the Flyers have an excellent chance to win the hockey game. So I don't think it's that far-fetched that they make the playoffs here. I hear like 15%.
They have listen. The way they're playing right now, they certainly have a
lose.
chance. No, they've been playing great, but again, they got a tough schedule coming up. After this game, they're certainly going to have their work cut out for them. But I mean, you have to beat all the teams, including the Ottawa Senators, and they're certainly doing their part now. It looks like they got the wake-up call in the second period when they were down 1-0 after one. So you'd have to think at this point things are going to be better. Now, losing Jake Voracek for 2 games because of that suspension.
Oh, that was terrible. Shouldn't have even been a major penalty. 2 minutes interference. I get it. You go to the box. You spend your 2 minutes. For him to get 2 games and for Malkin to get 1 game for swinging his
he should have gotten 1. I mean, I think he should have gotten 1, but not 2.
For checking somebody? Are we kidding me?
Well, it was he.
Are we treating hockey players like quarterbacks in the NFL now?
No, but
I mean,
he hit
I'm
him in
sorry,
the head.
Brett.
No, but he elbowed him in the head.
With all due respect to your hockey acumen, you're dead wrong on this. That's not a suspension, and let alone a 2-game suspension.
No, as I said, I think it should have been 1. They've got coming up Washington, Toronto. Now they're at home for Washington, which is going to be a very tough game.
It's a loss. Maybe
Okay.
they can steal a Bettman point.
Okay, then they've got at Toronto and at Pittsburgh, and those are 2 tough places to play.
Pittsburgh can be out for blood after that stadium series collapse.
Yeah,
too.
absolutely. And then they've got Montreal, which is a critical game.
That's going to be huge.
Okay, so those
Is that home or away?
they're home for Montreal. Montreal has been a
Barn's
wildly
going to be rocking for that
yeah,
one.
Montreal has been wildly inconsistent. Also, I mean, they took an 8-2 pounding over the weekend as well. The team I'm impressed with is the Carolina Hurricanes. I mean, they lost 8-1 to the Winnipeg Jets.
They look good, the Jets.
On Friday night, 8-1, and then they come back the next night in Nashville and win 5-3. And I'll tell you what, they had a big lead. I watched a lot of this game. They had a big lead, Carolina. Nashville, of course, came back in the third period and got close. And every time Nashville got close, Carolina answered them. And that's an impressive win on the road. Now, obviously, Carolina tonight has Colorado, and Colorado is a team that's fighting for their playoff lives as well. So that's going to be quite the game. I still think Carolina. I was very impressed with how they responded in Nashville the other night. I think they're going to be the team that I was worried about was the Islanders, but then they come back and they're playing a strong game against Columbus. So
yeah, I mean, Trotz has got them. I don't know what buttons he's pushed.
Well, they
'cause
played
were
well.
So, they were so poor last year.
Well, they couldn't play defense, and they had terrible goaltending. Right now, Lerner is out, I believe, and I don't know how long he's going to be out for, but I know he's injured, and Grice is playing, and Grice has been playing well this year. But at this point, the Islanders, just when they seem to be, exposed, they're coming out, and they're, as I said, they're ahead of Columbus. If they can hang on against Columbus, I mean, that would be a huge win for them. Montreal is another team that's very up and down, but they do have Carey Price, and Carey Price, when he's right, keeps the game in check for the Canadians every night. And then, of course, you have the Bruins, who I believe the Flyers are going to be playing as well. It's going to be interesting.
They play a lot of these teams down the stretch. They have 14 games to go. There's really no gimmies in there. I mean, they're playing Ottawa tonight.
Ottawa
who's
is
terrible. That's
Ottawa,
really the one
they
gimme
have Ottawa,
in the 14
They have
games.
Ottawa and the Rangers, who are their 2 gimmies.
Yeah, but I wouldn't even a fierce rivalry like that. I wouldn't say that it's a gimme.
Rangers are playing a lot of kids now, so I mean the Flyers should beat the Rangers.
How about Anthony D'Angelo looking?
Anthony D'Angelo has looked very, very good.
South Philly's finest,
He's a keeper.
baby.
He's a keeper.
You should have to trade him to the Flyers. He shouldn't be playing in New York, being from South Philly.
I mean, I don't know.
And the
what to
Flames
tell you.
should have to surrender Gaudreau to the Flyers as well.
Why, Gaudreau is from.
He's from Cherry Hill. It's where they practice.
No, Bobby Ryan is from Cherry Hill.
Johnny Gaudreau's not from Cherry Hill?
Gaudreau, I
Gaudreau's
believe.
from North Jersey.
North Jersey?
Yeah.
He's not from Cherry Hill?
No, he's
I'm
from-
mistaken.
I think he's from North Jersey. He went to Boston College and he played with Chris
Yeah, and I
Kreider.
know he went to
Look it up. Look it
Boston
up, Frank.
Catholic.
He
No, he's
played-
from Salem County.
Oh, South Jersey. He is.
Salem.
Okay.
Told
Yep.
you.
Grew up in
He
Carney's
played-
Point.
He played
I'm
college
not
hockey
familiar.
with
Where's
Chris
Carney's Point?
Kreider.
Carney's Point is
Don't say Salem County.
Well, it is in Salem County, but it's near where the bridge is, Delaware Memorial.
Oh, okay.
See, he's in the mix.
I thought he was from North Jersey, but he played with Kevin Hayes and Chris Kreider in Boston College. So there's the Flyers schedule.
Jason
by the way.
Hellis, you did not miss any Eagles. You did not miss any Eagles talk. We're getting into it after the Flyers because I was so angry. There's the schedule right now about the Jake Voracek suspension, which was total BS. I mean, you can't take physicality out of hockey, Brad.
No, but when a guy is going after the puck, you can't.
It was
he doesn't-
interference. It was 100% a
He
penalty.
threw his elbow and hit him in the face.
Oh my
You
God.
can't
That's
do
never
that.
happened in hockey before. My God.
Yeah, but of course he did a good job.
These guys don't even have teeth.
No, I understand that, but you can't do that. You can't go for the head in hockey anymore. You know, I mean, and I'll be honest with you. The next time, I was reading, some Flyer fans were talking about that the Islanders, they want to get even with the Islanders and start brawling with the Islanders. Guys, you do not want to brawl with the Islanders. The Islanders have
The
some of
Flyers
the
don't have
toughest-
they don't have any fighters.
That's what I'm saying. That would be a horrible mistake.
The only
Islanders
guy
have
would
some-
be confident in a fight would be Simmer, and he's in
He's
Nashville.
gone. Yeah, you don't want to be fighting guys like Ross Johnstone or Mayfield or Cal Clutterbuck or Matt Martin. I mean, those guys are bruisers.
you
Just
really
play
want-
hockey and play hockey and beat
If you
them.
really want to beat them, get those 2 points.
Yeah,
if
I
you
was-
want
I
to
was
hurt
gonna
their
say,
feelings, get those 2 points.
Exactly. Walk away. Don't let them get you into that, because that's what the Islanders do that to the Penguins, and that's why the Penguins have always had so much trouble with the Islanders. So the Islanders play that game where they just get under your skin, and once they get under your skin, you're more worried about going after them instead of playing the game, and you can't do that. So the Flyers, if they play discipline, they've proven that they can beat the Islanders. So and good for them. They've really turned it around. I mean, you got to give them a lot of credit. And
All due respect to the Quinville rumors, my hockey coach is Scott Gordon.
nah, you can't fire Scott Gordon after what he's done for the team this year.
I mean,
He's
Joe
got these
Kimball, he's
guys-
got some Stanley Cups, and that's great. But you can't ignore what Scott Gordon has done with this team. He was the Lehigh Valley coach. All these prospects and young guys that are coming up.
I think
Scott
that-
Gordon's already had his hands in the dough with these guys. He knows how to coach them. He knows what makes them tick. And 17-4-2
I think
over their last stretch. I mean, how can you not
I think
name
Joe-
this guy
I think
the
the
coach?
Flyers have too many young players on this team to have Joe Quenneville as a coach. Joe Quenneville's the kind of guy he needs a veteran team.
Joe Quenneville, let's say
turn
Tampa.
around.
Let's see Tampa Bay doesn't get it done again this year.
Okay,
for
that
whatever
would
reason.
be that you'll see.
That's
Joe
where he's
Quenneville.
going to go.
Yeah, but
Something like that.
I think Cooper gets it. I think Cooper might just get it done this year.
He
I mean,
might
that
not
team
though,
just.
because they never do.
I know, but you know what? They're just so good offensively.
All right,
this
it's
year.
about 7 minutes to go. Flyers lead the Ottawa Senators 3-1. Absolutely imperative for the Fly guys to get 2 points in this contest to keep them in the mix
You'd
for
like
a
to see,
wild
You'd
card.
like to see them get one more and put this game
That's
away.
all right, 3-1. They get the EN, the empty netter,
Yeah,
at
I
the
mean,
end for 4-1.
I mean, if they just check and play solid hockey, they should be okay. 3 minutes to go in Long Island, and the Islanders continue to lead the Blue Jackets 1-0.
So that would be huge.
Tampa Bay annihilating Toronto. It's now 6-1. Boy, that team is just
They're loaded.
ridiculous.
Well, that's because
How good
the Rangers gave them all those good players for Ungats
they-
or nothing.
God, I mean,
Stacked them.
they were stacked to begin with.
They stacked them up.
Yeah, I mean,
All right.
right now, I mean, they have Kucherov, who leads the league in points. I mean, with Stamkos and Point, I mean, that team is just loaded. It's
And we have
ridiculous how good they are.
breaking news out of college basketball. 20th ranked Wofford is going dancing, Frank. They win the
They
SoCon.
came back. Okay.
They win the SoCon title. They beat UNC Greensboro. They win the game handily by 12. So teams on the bubble with a sigh of relief as Wofford
Yep.
gets it done.
How do you like the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight?
Beating the Raptors.
Beating the Raptors by 25 points.
Well, I mean, Raptors.
I mean,
clearly
I'll tell you what, the last 2 days
went out to lunch.
we've had some strange games. The Phoenix Suns knocking off Golden State in Golden State, and then the Cavaliers destroying.
You're in the dog days right now of the season. I mean, you're kind of in that weird period where the teams at the
Yeah, but you
top of the
wouldn't think-
conferences
you wouldn't
are,
think-
are,
you wouldn't think in
maybe
the
they don't
NBA.
show up one night.
You wouldn't think in the NBA,
The
though.
NBA, the most prima donna diva league there is.
Yeah,
you
I
didn't
know.
think that would happen? You're nuts.
Yeah, but
All right,
boy,
let's
oh
get
boy.
into some football, Brad. Legal tampering is underway.
It
We've
is
had
underway.
trades. We've had free agent signings. I mean, we had to shuffle around the whole show today based on the Philadelphia Eagles winning the free agent period so far. They get a pair of Jacksons in Malik Jackson, which is a tremendous signing. He's going to be way better than Timmy Jernigan. Timmy Jernigan just never was the same after his back injury. Deshaun Jackson, which I'm really excited about. The one thing, Frank, that the Eagles' offense was missing last year was a take the top off the defense, deep threat, and I don't care if he's 32. Deshaun Jackson can still run really fast and take the top off the defense. Carson Wentz going to love having him. They restructured Jason Peters. He's only going to be making $6 million last year. If you're upset with having your potential starting left tackle making $6 million, you got to learn the game. You got to get a clue, and you got to learn the game. So Eagles still with plenty of more cap space to go. I'd be surprised if they got Le'Veon Bell, Brad.
I don't know how they could possibly have room for him.
No, not until they restructure. Because right now you have Jackson on the books for $10 million. And
yeah,
you have,
they don't have the room to get.
And you have Aguilar on the books for $9 million. And you sign Malik Jackson, but that contract really wasn't that.
Well,
that
Malik
bad.
Jackson sort of doesn't he sort
and
of
you
make
save
up
money
for,
with Peters.
But he sort of makes up for Michael Bennett, no? Because I mean, you traded
no,
Michael Bennett.
No, because Jackson is going to play next to Fletcher.
He's a linebacker.
He's a lineman.
Oh, he's a lineman. I thought he was
defensive
a linebacker.
tackle.
Okay, but he's gonna.
Remember, he played really well in that Super Bowl in 2015.
Oh, I remember. He played with. He was with Denver.
He went to the
Jaguars,
Jaguars, and he made the Pro
Jaguars.
Bowl, and then everything kind of fell apart with the Jaguars last year.
Well, I think playing with the Eagles,
he should have never been cut. The only reason the Jaguars cut him is they could give.
They signed Foles.
They could give the mega deal to Foles, $50 million guaranteed.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's what did he get? 4 years, $82 million, $50 million.
488, 4 for 88, 50 guaranteed with different incentives in there. He can potentially make it $102 million. So good for Nick Foles. I thank Nick Foles for his services. He's a very good quarterback. He's not a great quarterback.
He's a limited quarterback.
Carson Wentz is your guy in Philly, and now he has Deshaun Jackson to throw to, along with Alshon Jeffrey, Ertz, Goddard, maybe Aguilar. Don't be surprised if Aguilar gets traded or cut before Wednesday.
I think you're going to see.
Because once Wednesday hits, his $9 million is fully guaranteed.
Yeah, I think at this point you're going to see Le'Veon either with the Raiders or the Jets. That's just
I think he's going to. If I had to guess right now, Le'Veon Bell is going to be on the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean that.
And the Raiders are going to have Derek Carr with Bell and Brown.
Right.
And then they're going to draft the defense.
Or they'll at least try to.
Yes. Well, we'll see what the
And they still have all those. And they still have all those first-round picks. I mean.
Yeah, they have 5 picks in the first 37.
So that they certainly have an opportunity to draft some good young defensive players.
But
they're
see,
not
this is a flawed strategy.
They're not going to be a factor this season.
This is a flawed strategy in the NFL because you're going to have 5 of the top 37 players on your team after the draft. But, their contracts are going to be all up at the same time, and you can't pay them all because it's a hard cap. And you're going to be paying Bell, potentially Bell, definitely paying Brown as well. And you have Carr for a lot of money.
I get it, but I mean, the Raiders are the Raiders. They're not, they haven't been the most intelligent team in the league the last few years, so they're going to do what they do, I suppose. A lot of moves being made. Landon Collins. My ex-Giant
staying in the division,
going to the Redskins for I think $84 million, $50 million guaranteed. I got to tell you, Rob, and I love Landon Collins, but Landon Collins is a one-dimensional safety. He can't cover anybody. He couldn't cover you. So having him, he's the kind of guy. I mean, you have to have a defense, especially for him, because he's not going to be able to cover anybody. He's great against the run, and I mean, if there's a screen pass, he's going to get to that line and cut down a guy with a screen pass. But I'll tell you what, you line up guys in the slot against him, he won't be able to cover anybody. And I think he's going to get exposed in the NFC East just like he did last year.
Well, the Giants should be able to expose him. Well, he goes to the Redskins, and I mean,
well, the Redskins haven't exactly proven to be the most intelligent team in the league the last few years either.
$88 million for. I mean, I was pretty surprised he got that much money, and
Rob,
I was very surprised
he's a good player,
that
but he's not the best safety in the league. Come on.
Well, then Tyrann Mathieu, right before we went on the air, I think it was Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, goes to the Chiefs for about half of what Landon Collins got.
Right.
I think Tyrann Mathieu is more than He's
a
not
better
as good
cover-
as
He's a better cover guy than
but he's
Landon Collins.
he's injured and
Yeah,
he's
old and injured. I mean,
but-
Collins is still only 27 years old. I mean, or no, he's 26 years old. So I mean, that's one thing he's got going for him. And he was ranked third in the NHL. He was ranked third in the NFL against the run for all safeties. So I
Yeah.
mean, he's there, but he's just not a good cover guy. The Giants, of course, making a trade with
that was a good trade.
getting rid of Olivier Vernon and getting
One last thing on Landon Collins before we get to your actual smart trade by Dave Gettleman and the Giants. It's tough to justify $23 million for Eli, and you let Collins walk.
Eli, unfortunately, is holding the Eli's contract is holding the Giants hostage with the rebuild right now. I mean, it is what it is. I mean,
But don't you think that's like more than half of the outrage with the Landon Collins saga in New York? That they're okay paying Eli Manning
a lot of people are annoyed because a lot of people are.
He's not a
feeling
$23 million player.
No, he hasn't been a $23 million player in a long time. But this is his last year of his contract. So I mean, that is the one thing that they have going for them. I think what a lot of people wanted to see, and I know me included, is for the Giants to let Eli Manning go, so you have $17 million extra to play with in free agency, and draft a quarterback. That's what I would have done.
And what you start a rookie? You start Haskins?
Well, you could also sign Bridgewater and have him as the
gap.
fill-in, as the stopgap until Haskins is ready. But to have Eli Manning and then draft a quarterback and have a quarterback sit behind
Do you
Eli
think
Manning,
do you think that's what they're going to do?
I hope not.
What are they,
because
6th or 7th?
They're 6th. If they do that, that's clueless. So you're going to carry a $23 million cap hit.
Well, they need a pass rusher as well now because they traded
do.
Vernon.
I know they do. But think about this. You're going to take a $23 million player, okay? And he's going to play and you're going to draft. You're basically throwing the season away if you do that. If you're taking a number 1 pick, okay, and drafting
Well,
a
with the
quarterback-
Eagles, I mean, I think the Eagles with very early, certainly pre-draft, are the favorites in the NFC East.
Yeah, I would agree with you at
With
this point.
Jackson
With
and
the-
Peters back
well, with-
and
and with-
Deshaun back.
And with the suspensions of the Cowboys, because as always, America's most wanted just can't stay out of jail on that team. So, I would agree with you. I think the Eagles are right now pre-draft are odds-on favorites.
See,
But
Jason
again,
Helsey with a great comment. Carson Wentz, he came in, he started right away, he did fine.
that's my point.
Yeah,
If you're going to draft a quarterback, cut Eli Manning,
especially
and
when
let
he's
the guy
making that much
play.
money.
Let him play.
And if you want to
can't-
sign Bridgewater as a stopgap, that's fine too.
yeah, but you won't have to pay. What are you going to pay Bridgewater? $7, $8, $9 million.
Not 23.
You'll pay him maybe $9 million.
And you did a great job shedding payroll with the Vernon trade, getting
Yeah, they
a
say
good offensive lineman back.
They got a premier offensive lineman for Vernon.
Now
and-
you have two really good guards at the interior of that line.
Oh yeah,
in
absolutely.
Hernandez and Zettler.
Zettler and they obviously their offensive line is improved. They re-signed Jalapio. Solder played a lot better in the second half of the season. They need to replace Wheeler, so they need one more offensive
Need
lineman.
a left tackle.
Yes.
Or right
no,
tackle,
right tackle.
wherever
They need a right
Solder
tackle.
plays.
They need a right tackle. Solder is on the left side. So, but that's what they really need at this point, and if they can do that, then the offensive line's complete. But the Giants' problem is their defensive line. It's terrible. Now that they've
The
gotten
Giants'
rid of,
defense is terrible.
well, yeah, they
You
just,
have holes at every level on the Giants' defense.
yeah. I mean, really, to be honest with you, I think that they
You
have
got to draft defense
one
at 6.
they have one decent corner, and that's Jenkins. And you
I'm
have
surprised they
one-
still have him.
They have one decent linebacker, the guy that they got from the Rams last year. I can't remember his name. Ogletree, thank you. And they got some of the guys are okay, but I mean at this point they got a lot of holes defensively. If they're drafting, they're probably going to be drafting all defensive players.
They should be
Yeah,
paying
I mean-
Eli Manning $23 million. You're paying Eli Manning $23 million. That's
Well,
telling me
If you're
that you
paying-
think if you make a couple tweaks on the defensive side of the ball, you could maybe win a Super Bowl.
or at least compete. How about being 8-8 for starters? How about being a 500 team? How about not losing 5 games in the last 2 minutes of the game when you have the lead?
Well, that's because they defense stunk. Couldn't stop
Absolutely.
anyone.
Well, here's the thing, and I can understand the argument for Eli Manning because Eli Manning, the second half of the season, played pretty well.
If you block for Eli Manning, he's a decent quarterback, even in the latter stages of his career.
But the Giants have to either, and I'm going to use
He's
this
not a
expression,
$23 million quarterback.
The Eagles,
but he's
the
a
Eagles-
decent quarterback.
Unlike the Eagles, the Giants either have to shit or get off the pot. Okay, if you're going to keep Eli Manning, keep him for one more year, and go out and fix your defense. Okay, if you're not going to do it, if you're gonna sign or draft Haskins or Murray or whoever it is, the guy from Duke, whoever you decide you want to draft, you got to cut Eli Manning.
Frank, let's catch us. Can you catch us up on the YouTube comments? I'm confused.
Yeah,
on where we are here.
absolutely. Let's see when we started. Excited about the double Jackson signing. Bryce Blackwell
Absolutely.
saying got to add a running back and a linebacker.
Which you will.
Which one?
I would add the running back.
The running
I
back.
wanted Quan Alexander,
Quan.
who went to the Niners for.
I would draft one. I don't like the idea. I don't like the idea of getting other people's running backs.
Right.
And I've always said this, and I know it. Le'Veon Bell obviously is a different story because of what a brilliant player he is. But
He's
if you're
sitting
not
out
going
a
to get,
year. How's that going to factor into his?
yeah,
value?
well, there's two ways to look at that. I don't know. I mean, I heard he gained some weight. He may not be in the greatest
Yeah.
shape right now, but he'll get him back. He'll get himself back into shape. And you know what? Maybe a year off will help his body, and he might be a step faster. You know.
The Flyers have won the hockey game, ladies and gentlemen, 3-2.
Woo-hoo!
They get the 2 points over the hapless Ottawa Senators. Hopefully, the Islanders can do their part, and the Flyers are only 3 points
Well, let's
out
take-
of a playoff spot.
Let's take a quick look here and see what happened with the Islanders. The Islanders. Where were the Islanders? The Islanders won 2-0 over the Blue
So
Jackets.
the Flyers are now 3 points back of the final wildcard spot. Frank, continue with the YouTube.
Then
comments.
Bryce also saying good off season so far.
Excellent offseason so far, not just good.
Then Bryce Blackwell also brings up the idea of Le'Veon Bell to Oakland.
I think that's a.
I think we already mentioned
Yeah,
that.
I think
Mentioned
that's.
it.
I think that's a 1,000% where
That's
he's going to
certain.
go. Because Gruden's going to want his toys on
Of course.
offense, and I don't think he's going to care what it costs,
Right.
which is why he didn't want to pay Mac.
Exactly.
So I think he's going to get.
And of course, probably why Kalichi Osemele is gone as well.
Yes. He wants to get all of his money so he
Yeah.
can get whatever offensive toys
Jeez.
he wants, and he's going to use his draft picks to draft defensive
Of course. And then Jason Helsley.
Well, he is an offensive coach.
guys. No kidding.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he always has been.
Most overrated coach of all time.
Bringing up
Agreed.
bringing up over Mac Hollins. He'd rather trade Mac Hollins. Aggie has
Yeah, but
proven,
what
and
are you
Hollins
gonna
has had
get?
injury issues since college.
You're not going to get anything from Matt Collins.
You're not. You're not.
And he has a good rapport with Carson Wentz.
Yeah, he has a good rapport with Carson
So-
Wentz,
And he
the-
doesn't make anywhere near the $9 million
Exactly.
that Nelson Aguilar makes. Nelson Aguilar,
Right.
I'm sorry, I know he was on the Super Bowl team and he had a good season that year, but he's not a $9 million player. I don't think he's that good.
Yeah.
I'm much more satisfied with Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson. Nelson Aguilar he can go kick rocks.
right.
I think the Eagles should release him and then re-sign him so they don't have to pay that. Because Howie totally mismanaged his fifth-year option.
Well, let me ask you a question. Out of the college running backs that are available to be drafted, because that's where I think you guys should be going with your draft, is to go out and get yourself the best running back available. Who are you guys looking to get?
I like David Montgomery out of Iowa State. I know Chucks, Manaran, birds of a feather. He likes Devin Singletary. Both
Where do you
are-
think these guys are going to get drafted? I mean, are
not
these
in the
guys?
first round. Not in the first round.
So you could probably
you
get
wanna
them in the
get-
second or third round, right?
Yeah, I would overdraft either of them in the second round just to make sure I got them. Maybe you take a corner, a linebacker, or something else, an offensive lineman possibly.
I have a feeling
the
the
first
Eagles.
round.
I have a feeling the Eagles, if there's a good defensive lineman available, I have a feeling
Maybe
that's
that's
where
what
Howie
Howie
round.
does. I would draft O-line.
He seems to love to get these
and
defensive linemen.
Frank, you follow the team closely as well.
Yep.
I am terrified that right guard is going to be the Achilles heel of this football team next year, because I'm not counting on Brandon Brooks at all next year.
Right.
300-pound guy who tore his Achilles in the Saints game in what? I guess that was mid-January, late January.
Yeah,
Like
8 months
Yeah.
later,
You're not.
he's not going to be available.
He's
He's not going to be good. He's not going to be ready till like October and
Yeah,
November.
it's gonna be
If
it's gonna be
that.
late.
If
Yeah.
that. Sidney Jones is a 22-year-old
Right.
cornerback, athlete. He tore his Achilles. And
That's different
I
at
can hear
cornerback,
Tom in
though.
my ear right now. It's a 2-year injury, Rob.
Yeah, but it's
You
but
can't judge him
on a,
off 2 years
but
when
on
he
a-
just tore his Achilles.
yeah, but on a
Fucking hate
cornerback-
Sidney Jones. All I see is
on a
I watch
cornerback, it's
Sidney
different.
Jones is all I see is Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
Achilles are tough. I don't care if you're 22, 28, 32, 43. You're down for more than 8 months if you tear your Achilles. So that's my fear, that this team's Achilles heel next year is going to be right guard.
Achilles heel is what did in Lawrence Taylor.
It does in a lot of guys.
Yeah, I mean that's what did him in. I mean that's a very tough injury to come back from.
So I got a couple guys. I'm going to write an article
Yep.
to rival Chuck's about
All right.
possible 25th pick options for the Eagles.
I think your team is either is
And I'm
either
going to write a
you're
7-round
gonna draft
mock for the
you're going to
Eagles.
draft
Ooh.
either a offensive or defensive
Now speaking
line.
of
Howie likes to draft those guys. In the
Yes.
first
now
round.
And
speaking
that's
of the
smart. That's
7-round
where-
mock.
Well, that's how you play. That's how
Yes.
you win in the NFL is because you win in the trenches, and he's
Yes.
been doing
Yes.
that consistently. And the Eagles have always had a very good offensive line and a very good defensive line, and he's
If
been
I had my
magnificent at it.
if I had my ideal selection
Yep.
in the first round after Malik Jackson gets signed, because I was
Right.
eyeing up one of those Clemson defensive tackles
Yeah.
before that, but I think
You
you
were
wait
eyeing
a
up
little.
on Dexter, right?
Dexter or
Yeah.
Christian Wilkins probably wouldn't have been there, but
Right.
stranger things have happened in the NFL.
Exactly.
Someone could have
It is
released
it
a
is a
picture of him with
deep-
a bong mask on.
Yeah.
and-
It is a deep defensive draft.
It is a
this
very
year.
deep draft.
So I think maybe you can wait that now on defensive tackle.
Yeah, you can
I
wait a
like
little bit.
I like the tackle out of Oklahoma, Ford.
Yeah.
Corey Ford, I think his name is.
Some of the
Okay.
Alabama guys are
Some of
pretty
the Alabama
daggone
guys.
good too.
Now,
Yeah,
what
but
about
John-
a guy like Josh Jacobs? I know everybody's been clamoring about. We need a running back. We need a running back. Would you see a
do,
guy like?
And I like Jacobs, but I mean, I think he seems like someone's going to overdraft him.
Yeah.
I think he's going to go in like that 8 to 15 range, maybe.
Yeah, you think somebody will reach?
I think so. And I don't want to trade up. I want to
You don't
keep
want
my
to trade out.
I want to keep my
Okay.
3 draft picks in the top 64.
Yeah, that'll be doable.
Well, I think if Howie has somebody that he likes, he will trade up.
that is true. He
He's
could do
demonstrated-
that.
he's
I hope
demonstrated in
I
the-
hope it's not a running back.
I don't
they
know
do
if he's
trade
going
up.
to.
If
I
he's
don't think
doing
he's going
that-
to do that. I don't think he's
I
going
don't
to do
think
that
for
for
a running back.
But
No.
And
I think if
hope
Howie
he
likes,
I hope he can do it without giving up both second-round picks.
if
I
Howie,
think it
if
keeps.
Howie
both.
loves a defensive lineman, Howie's going to do what he's got to do to get another defensive
Yeah,
lineman.
but how many defensive? I mean, you
Because
have
he
Graham.
loves-
I know
he
he loves
loves
them, but
defensive linemen.
this offensive line scares me.
Well, he's going to draft offensive linemen
He will
too,
draft
Rob.
an O. I know he's going to draft
He's
an
going to drop
O-line.
an offensive
Okay,
lineman
but there's a
too.
difference.
I think he's going to draft what we really need. We
There's-
definitely need O-line. We definitely need a running back, and we definitely need a linebacker.
I don't think he's
I
going to
think those are going to be
overpay.
the top.
I don't
our
think
top
he's going to
3 picks right
overpay.
there.
Yankee
for
Bob,
somebody.
Yankee Bob asked me if I got my Bryce Harper jersey yet. No, I have not, but I am going to get a road gray number 3 Bryce Harper.
I'm going to get a
jersey.
throwback.
You're going to go with the powder blue.
I love the powder blues.
You know what? I because
Hey, Bob, just to let you know, I will not be purchasing a Bryce Harper jersey.
I know. You think Yankee Bob saw Phil Martelli calling you out on the interview?
Woo!
Calling you out.
That's okay.
How easy is it to root for a team that's won 27 championships, he said.
When I was 8 years old, I didn't know
I
anything.
tried to stick up for you, but Phil, he had his mind made up.
You know,
he
when
was
Yeah.
Phil,
loaded for
once,
bear.
once Phil starts, you know, he'll go on and on. So
But to get back to the Eagles, I mean, Casey Ford is, I think it's Casey or Corey Ford. It starts with a C. But, I mean, I've seen him picked in the top 10 in mocks. I've seen him available at 25 in mocks. No one really knows how teams value these players. unless you're in the
You
war
also have
room.
to wait till you also have to wait till free agency's kind of over to see where everything is.
But I'm worried. And then I would draft a guy in the second round from Kansas State. His name's Dalton Risner. He's good. And no, I'm not just saying that, Frank, because you're a Kansas State fan.
Emo.
He's actually good. I think you draft him in the second round. I think he can play guard to start, and then when Kelsey wrap things up, 'cause Kelsey's 31, I think he can be the heir apparent at center. Dalton Risner. Everyone wants to freak out about Montez Sweat and how good he worked out at the combine. Dalton Risner handled him in a regular season matchup this past year, and he was the only one that could hang with him at the Senior Bowl practices. So,
By the way, I have an update for you. Terrell Suggs, 16 years with the Ravens. I believe he signed with the Cardinals.
The Cardinals, yes.
That's
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
How about that?
I mean, the Ravens, and then they cut Weddle, too, and he went out to the
Wow.
Rams. So the Ravens are
The Ravens are
shaking
making some-
things up.
Yeah.
Terrell Suggs.
I've heard them
Cardinal.
I've heard them as a sleeper team for
Man.
Bell as well.
Man.
The Ravens.
Baltimore, yes.
That's weird. That's weird to
Whoa.
think about that.
I don't know what their cap situation
Terrell-
is.
No, I don't either.
Man.
Boy, oh boy.
Well, that makes sense. He's an older player. He went to
Yeah.
Arizona State. I mean,
Yeah, I hear you, but man, you've been like
Yeah,
been
but
like a Raven for
I understand,
forever.
but the Cardinals.
Cliff Kingsbury.
I would have retired. They signed with the Cardinals.
He must have gotten a lot of money though.
Jason Helsey, he has a good feeling about us and Wilkins. I would again, if they get Wilkins, I mean, I don't think he's going to be there at 25, so you got to make a move up. I mean,
Yeah, but with all the
If-
draft
if-
choices you have, you can make that move. You probably have the draft capital.
yeah, I
to do
get it, but I think Malik Jackson really solidifies this line where you just need depth at this point. You don't need a starter.
No, I mean you probably. I mean then
Because
you should
Howie's
be-
really good at this as well. He's good at getting a lot of free agents, depth free agents, so he can pick the best player available. The old adage, best player available in the draft. But all due respect to Sam Alu and Vaitai, I mean, that makes me nervous that both of them might have to start if Peters can't go.
Right.
And Steven Wisniewski's option was not picked up,
Exactly.
so he's out of here.
Vaitai did an
And-
excellent
and the
job
o-
for you guys the year that you won the Super
And
Bowl.
the other
he
weird thing
did,
with the
but he
O-line
did the
stuff,
opposite of that last year.
You also factor in is Jordan Mailata. He's a huge question mark.
Okay.
But I know people are going to ask
Okay.
about it. I'm like, well,
But-
what about rugby guy? What about Jordan Mailata?
I know, but let's see him actually get on the field and
Right.
say a preseason game first before we stick him out there week 1 at left tackle on Carson's blind side, please. If he goes to camp and he kills it and he earns the job, fine, good. Put him out there until he fails.
Well, yeah, you want to see you got to make sure that he can play.
I can't have a guy who played rugby his whole life and just started playing football. I mean, good God Almighty, they had to teach him how to put on his pads last year at training camp. He had no clue.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, the rugby players are good athletes though. And
Dion's
rugby is
here.
pretty-
Dion.
What's
Pretty
Dion
similar.
got to say, Frank?
He says, "What's up, guys? Great move bringing back D-Jax at 32. He's still a major threat out there on the field. Next move is draft the linebacker from Alabama and shore up our O-line in this draft."
Who's the linebacker from Alabama?
Oh,
I haven't really been looking at it. The only
yeah.
one I've seen that's really been talked about is the Devin White guy from LSU. And Rashawn Gray looks like he's going to be a 3-4
Gotta be sure which one's the right
edge
one.
rusher. Jason Helsey, yes, I'm comfortable with Vaitai if you give him a practice.
find it.
He's solid, but not filling in the middle of a game. That's actually a fair point from Jason there. Vaitai does do better when he knows the whole week he's going to be the starter, as opposed to, going in there in the middle of the game when there's an injury.
I thought he was pretty good. I mean, I thought he was pretty good.
He was excellent.
Yeah, he's not. I mean, he's.
Yeah, but
You
Brad,
can do
he
a
was
lot worse
excellent
than him.
because he knew the Eagles had no other option, and he wasn't looking over his shoulder, and he could prepare as the starter week in and week out. That wasn't the case last year.
Well, maybe that will be the case this year. I mean, we'll have to see. But that you could do a lot worse than him. That's for sure.
Let's see. The linebacker from Alabama.
Like I said,
Matt
guard is my
Wilson.
worry next to Lane Johnson on the other side. Because what really helped this team over the last 2 years was You had Lane Johnson at right tackle. You had Brandon Brooks, who was an all-pro caliber player at right guard, and
then
Kelsey, who's been the best center in the league.
And then Peters on the other side.
Peters on the other side, and you had kind of a black hole rotating door at left guard. But Peters being so good, he made up for that. So
Well, Peters is like 37, 38 years old now, right?
And then if you get 36, I believe.
36.
But yes, he's old.
Getting up there.
But
I mean, he's just not going to be able to play as many plays as
especially if you're going with a Josh Jacobs, a Devin Singletary, or David Montgomery as your starting running back next year. You got to have a good line up there for holes, So, right guard.
You think they're going to bring back Jay Ajayi?
I would, but that seems to be an unpopular opinion, and I get killed every time I seem to bring it up.
Yeah, Jay Ajayi is a good running back.
He's
but
a good
always
running
seems to get
back,
hurt,
but
though.
you got the injuries, you got the fumble, and of course you have that ACL injury that kept him out of the season.
I wanted to kill him. I wanted to wring his neck when he fumbled that ball last year.
As the rest of that
then
fan
he tore
base.
his ACL. So punishment fit the crime, in my opinion. There.
Oh boy,
it made me so mad. Having said that, I would bring him back on a 1-year show-me deal with a rookie and maybe, what if you have a guy like Tevin Coleman, Jay Ajayi, and a rookie? Whether it's Singletary, Jacobs, my guy Montgomery, or whoever. Mike Weber is a guy who's getting steam. I know a lot of people like Elijah Holyfield out of Georgia, even though he ran a bad 40 time at the combine.
If you're gonna get a guy like Tevin Coleman, how many times would you want to have the ball in his hand?
That's a good question.
He's not a big guy. I mean,
You're
Atlanta for the most part used Devontae Freeman until he got hurt. I mean, he was their big.
I think what the Eagles fans and I think what NFL fans, if your team needs a run, I think they're, Tevin Coleman's here. And look, I get it. He's got potential, and he's shown he can do stuff.
I think he's the kind
of guy. I know
Charles
Charles loves him, and he's Mr. Running Back.
I don't know that you could. I don't know that you could give him the ball more than 10 to 15 times a game.
I agree with you. I agree with you, but people see him here, and they want to sign him to a 4-year, 5-year deal with the hopes that he'll get to here. But it's going to cost.
Listen, that could happen, but
he's
you're
probably going to get half as much money as Le'Veon Bell gets.
You're going to probably be paying him
$24 million guaranteed.
Yeah, you're probably going to be paying about 4 years, $40 million, and $24 million guaranteed,
something like that.
Yeah, I mean, and
is he worth that? I'm not sure.
I don't know. But that's what it's good.
And he's better than. And don't get me wrong, I think Tevin Coleman's a nice player and he could do good in our offense. And he's certainly better than Corey Clement, Wendell Smallwood, Josh Adams, Darren Sproles.
But he's
not
a big guy. How many times are you going to give him the ball?
I don't know.
I'm just saying.
At $24 million, I want a bell cow.
You want a guy that's going to carry the ball 15 to 20 times a game, and catch the ball 3 or 4 times a game. I mean, that's what stud running backs do, and that's what running backs who make a lot of money do. That's why I don't know about Coleman. I don't know that financially. I don't think it's.
And Mark Ingram's probably going to hit the market as well.
Yeah,
he has hit the market. We're in tampering period. He hasn't been re-signed or anything.
Ingram is a different story. I like Ingram,
but Ingram can fill the 4-minute offense LeGarrette Blount role that he filled in the Super Bowl run. Because if you roll the tape back, I didn't like the LeGarrette Blount signing. I didn't think it was going to work for the Eagles at all because the Eagles shuffle in and shuffle out their running backs. LeGarrette Blount is a guy you got to stick with and wear down the defense with.
No, I like Ingram.
So
I think,
and
Ingram,
that's another name
Ingram,
I've brought up, Mark Ingram, that's been poo-pooed and laughed out of the room.
I think Ingram is a good player. I mean, he didn't. He hasn't been carrying the ball that much because of Kamara, but he still is very effective.
You want the $24 million high upside guy and Tevin Coleman, and you're projecting that he's going to really explode in your offense. Okay, that's fine, and I'm not going to jump off the Walt Whitman if they sign Tevin Coleman to that money, but you better be right because that's a lot of money to be tied up in running back over the next 4 years when that really hasn't been the Eagles' MO. I mean, the last high-profile running back they had was LaShawn McCoy, and Chip Kelly shipped his ass right out of town. So I don't know if I don't know how I feel about Tevin Coleman at potentially $24 to $30 million guaranteed. I just don't know.
What about
it makes me nervous.
What about a 1-year deal with Adrian Peterson? Just asking.
Since I never really thought about that. It's a good question.
He is a free agent.
He is a free agent. Yes.
I mean,
I don't understand why the Redskins wouldn't bring him back though, because he ran really well last year.
Yeah, I know he did, and he can carry the ball a lot. And as
the
far as running out the clock,
the guy's a freak.
Yeah, and
I wouldn't be opposed to that.
He bring veteran leadership to some of these other running backs, and I think.
What if you had Adrian Peterson and Josh Jacobs as your running back? Is that his first name, Josh, from Alabama?
Josh Jacobs?
Josh Jacobs.
You can do a lot worse than that. You know what? You won't be paying Peterson through the nose, and you'll only have to pay him for 1 year.
Right, because he's 34.
Right. He's not. You can get him in a 1-year deal.
So I guess the question is, would you rather have
And that's just a thought, because I have never heard any connection to Peterson with the Eagles.
No, I haven't heard Peterson really.
I haven't heard anything about Peterson. But you know what? He is a free agent. He only signed a 1-year deal with the Redskins.
All right, Deion Brown. Also, Malik Jackson is a great acquisition as well. Can't leave him out. Now they can't tag team Cox every play. Great point. That's a great point by Deion. I love the Malik Jackson signing. I know he had a down year last year with the Jaguars, but everyone kind of had a down year with the Jaguars last year. Jason Halsey, we are looking at that All-American right guard from the Combine. I wouldn't be surprised if he's our first pick. Good point. I don't know who he's talking about.
The right guard from the All-American right guard.
Is that my guy Risner?
I think it sounds like Risner.
He was a second-team All-American.
Yeah.
Do we draft a QB late or bring in a serviceable veteran to compete for the backup? Sudfeld will get his shot to prove he's worthy of the number 2. Look, Sudfeld's going to be the number 2 quarterback.
Yeah.
Nick Foles is in Jacksonville for a boatload of money. Carson's your guy. Nate's your backup.
And I'm looking at the quarterback class. It's
but they can find Doug can find someone.
He can find someone
late,
but
a day 3 pick that
the only other reasonable quarterback I could think of, and maybe this is just me thinking, maybe thinking a little too much. I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles make a move for, or at least picking up a guy like Easton Stick, Carson Wentz's backup at North Dakota State. He is projected to be a 6th round to a free agent in the draft.
I mean, okay, it's a day 3.
It's
pick.
a day 3 pick, which
Sure.
I mean, it'll be worth trying. But I mean, at this point, I would groom Sudfeld, find a serviceable and cheap veteran in the process.
What about Tyrod?
Oh,
No.
No.
You think he'll want too much money?
Possibly.
Where does he go this year, I wonder?
I don't even know.
Maybe the Giants?
Yeah.
I shouldn't laugh because I'd be stuck watching him, so it's not that funny.
Deion will take the AP on the 1-year deal all day, yes, but I'm also drafting a running back in the first, second, and third rounds if that's the case. Look, I don't care who
I
they
would
sign.
agree. You know
I don't
what?
care if they sign Tevin Coleman.
Deion, I'm with you about that. If I was an Eagle fan, I wouldn't want to see you guys spending a ton of money on somebody else's running back. I'm always against that. So I mean,
you're not wrong either.
I'm always against that unless it's Le'Veon Bell. That's a bad idea.
I'm not saying it's a bad idea with Tevin Coleman at $24 million a year guaranteed. I'm saying you better be right and you better be careful. I'm not as sold as some of the other fans out there that Tevin Coleman is all that in a bag of chips.
Would be an outstanding selection for the Eagles. Outstanding. He's the kind of guy that when Wentz gets a little rattled, you have him out there in the huddle. He's a calming influence. I mean, I think that's a win-win for you guys.
Carson getting rattled, blasphemous.
Well,
Carson never gets rattled. He's the best.
Yeah, I know he's the best, but he still gets rattled sometimes. All quarterbacks do.
Deion Rogers said that. Bob Brinkman, O-line signed, we replaced the D-line
No,
that we lost and got help at wire. Sounds good to me. Let's get the running back in the draft. Hey, if Josh Jacobs is there,
Yeah.
after
Take him. Take him.
after these moves,
Somebody who agrees with me about getting running backs in the draft and not signing
well,
running
it's Bob
backs as
from
free
Bucks.
agents.
He's
Yeah.
probably a fan from day one, from our 1360 days.
I understand, and I think he agrees with me about the
him
fact
and Yankee
that,
Bob,
drafting somebody else,
season tickets.
Right.
signing somebody else's running back is never a good idea.
But after all of these moves that the Eagles made over the past 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever it was, if Josh Jacobs is there at 25, I'm in.
Yeah.
No-brainer pick. I would even – you see, because the thing about trading up in the draft that makes me nervous is these teams, they covet these draft picks. Like, they covet them. They
Well,
covet
there's
these maybe –
There's also a
they
mathematical.
covet these draft picks more than they covet a Khalil Mack, as the Raiders proved last year. And that absolutely makes no fucking sense to me. No sense
Well,
at
you know,
all.
there is a mathematical
So,
formula to these draft picks, too.
I
so-
hate the idea of trading up because these teams, they hate – they want too much to move up just a few spots. Remember the Jets and the Colts swap pick last year? It was like a 2-spot trade so the Jets could get Darnold.
Right.
And the Colts made out like bandits. They
Well,
had
they
one of
got
the
a
best
2-3
drafts of all time.
They got a 2,
They
3,
got
and
a
5.
first-team All-Pro
Yeah.
in Quentin Nelson out of Notre Dame, and they made the playoffs, and the Jets are still the Jets.
Yeah, but they
So
got.
how smart was that really?
Well, they got the quarterback.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I think he's going to be pretty
No,
darn
I'm not
good.
a Darnold guy.
I think he's going to be.
Unlike
good.
Colin Cowherd, I am not a Sam Darnold guy.
He showed me a lot when he came back after he was
the
hurt.
big Josh Allen guy. Buffalo. Big
oh,
Josh
oh,
Allen.
oh, Josh Allen. Okay, I thought
Yes.
you know, when you said Josh Allen, I had him confused with the guy in the Ravens, Jackson, Lamar
No,
Jackson.
no. I mean, he's a
didn't
gimmick
like him.
player. I mean,
I'm
if you're
not
going to fall
crazy about
asleep
him.
on him and give him running lanes, he's going to burn you every time. But, I mean, he can't throw the ball at an elite level.
He has to
and then
prove that he can
Baker,
do
from
that.
last year's quarter, I mean, I love Baker.
Oh, Baker looked.
Baker and Josh
Tremendous.
Allen. And I had no idea.
Do you think Murray is a lot like Baker Mayfield?
No.
Because he
I don't
is,
think so.
He is short,
No, but, I mean,
but
the
he's
thing-
been short all his life. So,
Baker's
I mean,
Baker's that dude, though.
Yeah,
He's
Baker's
got
the
that
dude.
swag. He's got that.
No,
it
he's got the
factor.
attitude. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's got the attitude, which is why a lot of people liked him. I know the Jets loved him last year.
I don't know that Kyler has that. I do think Kyler Murray's going to go first in the draft.
Unfortunately.
Oh, I think Kingsbury's. I think Kingsbury. You can book it that Kingsbury's going to
And
draft
I do
him
think that
for sure.
I do think that they're going to move Josh Rosen because it's not. I don't think it's a coincidence.
Now, if you're the Giants, do you trade for Josh Rosen for a second-round pick?
Yeah, because he was a first-round
Exactly.
talent. That's a no-brainer. But I don't think it's a big coincidence that the second Cliff Kingsbury got hired by the Cardinals, like a day later, Kyler Murray decides he wants to play football. I think they were in cahoots with each other, like, yo, Kyler, I'm going to get this job. We got the first pick. We're going to pick you. Come play football.
Oh, I think that
I think
absolutely.
that's going to happen.
Okay, here. By the way, they're showing that was a pretty bad hit, Rob. I'm sorry.
You stop.
That was. Did you see
An
how he
old
swung
school
that
guy
elbow?
like you going soft on a Jake Voracek hit like that.
He swung his elbow.
It's a 2-minute penalty for interference.
You cannot be.
He didn't
Sergeant
play the
Slaughter.
puck.
You're not. He's not Sergeant Slaughter. You cannot throw
You're
the
out
cannon.
of your mind.
You cannot
You're
throw
out
a
of your
Slaughter
mind.
cannon.
That's not a major penalty, and it's not a fucking 2-game suspension when
That
the
was-
Flyers are in the middle of a fucking Stanley Cup playoff race.
Well, then he's got to
That's
be
absolutely
smarter
ridiculous.
Than that. You got to be smarter than that and not be throwing your elbow around like that.
Oh,
That was a dumb.
okay.
That's
Yeah,
a dumb
okay.
play that he
So
made.
he's just supposed to let the Islander guy. What's his name? The Islander. Boychuk. He's supposed to just let him square him up and let him get nailed in the back.
He
You're
wasn't
out of
even
your mind.
checking him. He went out of his way to hit him.
If that wasn't a Flyer, you'd agree with me.
No, he. That I
Yeah,
don't.
you would.
I don't
That's
agree
what it
with you.
comes
'cause
down
he can't-
to.
He swung his elbow.
Evgeny
elbow.
Malkin swung his stick at a Flyer's head,
Evgeny Malkin
and he
should've
got
been
one
suspended.
game, and he
sh-
gets 2 games for
No,
that.
He shouldn't get 2 games.
You're stone wrong.
No, he should get 1 game.
He should get 2 minutes. It's not a major penalty, and it's not a suspension. Now they're not going to have Jake Voracek tomorrow against the Washington Capitals. The appeal's
Well,
going to.
Did he appeal already?
He did appeal.
appealed,
I
okay.
don't know if he was. I assume he was on the ice tonight because the appeal hearing.
I thought I saw him
is at
on the
3
ice tonight.
Yeah, the appeal hearing is tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
What he should have done, well, I guess he can't really do that. I was going to say he should have sat out one game and then appealed the second game, so he could play
Well, it doesn't
against
work
the
like
Capitals. No, that's right. You can't do that.
All right. It was a great show tonight. Thanks for being with us tonight. Sports Hounds will be back next week, same time, same place. Have a good night, everybody.